Hello there, and welcome to episode 10 of Year 7 of Age of Empire, a Horus Heresy podcast. Tonight, I am joined by three luminaries of the heresy scene. But today, in the Shire, was the day that Frodo Baggins left Bag End. And as such, I have decided to map your various personalities to those of the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, this is
so
good.
A man. You're lucky, Chris, because you actually get a good deal in this intro.
Cracking.
A person who would literally loyal, steadfast, and would lug you up Mount Doom if he needed to.
My Bill the Pony.
Christopher Mills, Esquire. There you go. You are of Sam Gamgee.
Bill the Pony is the best character.
Sam Gamgee, the real
Sam is
hero
the true
of
hero of it also.
Secondly, I'm joined by the only really person that this particular person could be, just by their sheer geography. We are, of course, talking to a person who likes to get a bit riley with people, particularly those hobbits. It is the Sean Bean / Boromir of the group, Mr. Robbing, who can speak from Yorkshire, just like Sean can.
There we go. Can.
You can.
Right.
And finally...
Is he going to make the end of the episode without dying? That's the real question.
Well, you shall see. That is the real question. And whenever I see Sean Bean, it always reminds me of Rob. Of course, that is a bit confusing if you ever watch the early series Lady Chatterley's Lover, where he played Mellors. But anyway, we shall move swiftly on because
with Helen Mirren.
Yes, exactly. Lastly, but not least, we have the person who literally lives in their own little world, bimbles around. And if you offer him your ring, he'll turn you down flat. The Tom Bombadil of the equation, Mr. Michael Bottrell, Esquire.
I'm happy to take that.
There we go. So today, or tonight, or whatever,
Just very quickly, wasn't Tom Bombadil effectively the most powerful person?
He's basically
in
God.
Middle Earth.
He was
absolutely.
Before the Arder, so
he can hold the ring and not get phased by
it.
And, to balance it out, though, most people, even people who are fans of Tolkien, find him irritating.
Well, yes, that's something to take some bleeping, but yes, you're not wrong. It is kind of irritating, and the film didn't miss anything by not having him in it. I felt.
No. He sings.
But anyway,
I've not heard Michael sing before.
No, neither have I. But anyway, he is very much the Tom Bombadil character. I feel.
I have heard him say the girls are waiting for him quite a lot, which is another common thing, Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, today, or this morning, or wherever you happen to be listening to this podcast, we'll be looking at a bit of detail at the reveals from the Nova in America. We're also going to circle back to the Siege of Cathonia book and have a little look-see at the new Legion Decurions for all of you tank meisters out there. We're also going to go in a bit of a dive into the new core missions, just to see what they're like and see if they're a good or intermittent addition to the sort of lexicon of games. And finally, we're going to look into the new Daemon Engines and from the recently released exemplary battle-esque thing, because that's quite interesting. So with that in mind, let's get cracking and go straight to the new reveals.
Okay, new reveals. Well, a few things came out of the Nova preview, starting with some 40k models that you can kind of use for Heresy. Start with the Indomitus Terminators, including most of the options we know and love. No Thunder Hammers and Storm Shield or Lightning Claws. I think they're sticking with the existing Assault Terminator kit for that. Plus a Captain and a Chaplain in Indomitus Terminator armor. Yeah, maybe. And some new Scouts. But as far as we can see, only one Nemesis Bolter in that pack. So that's a bit...
These new Scouts, Primera Scouts or Firstborn Scouts.
I have no idea. We don't know what size base they're on.
They look kind of Primera-y, don't they?
Yeah, but we don't know what size base they're on. If they're on 25s, they're probably, what we want. But
they're much bigger.
They're Primera. They're not doing any Firstborn stuff.
But it says on the little bit of dump here, the new Scouts are taller and leaner, but they keep the carapace armor and other classical accoutrements of the Space Marine neophyte. I don't know how Primaris work. Do Primaris go through a similar
Neophytism?
neophyte? Yeah. But yeah,
Who knows?
We know that the Firstborn are on their way out of that game.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they discontinued so many kits. So yeah, but
And none of
we'll
these guys look like John Cena with
I
his
don't know.
face smashed in, so that's an improvement.
No,
Okay.
definitely not. We will see what is.
Yeah, one
turned out.
sniper rifle sucks, doesn't it? If
The-
they are the ones we're going to have to use.
They've got some serious sort of skull kind of weirdness going on. They've got like bits here. And I'm pretty sure I don't have a line here. On my
But you're
skull.
not a Primaris Marine who's been.
I'm not, but I am a
genetically
human.
engineered to be super cool.
Like extra.
I like
bits.
it's one at the back who's got like the Bane face mask on with the bolter. Is that a shotgun or that's a bolter?
Okay.
No, it's a shotgun.
That's a shotgun.
Yeah. Okay, so to be TBC really to see whether they're heresy.
Yeah, I mean the
or not.
Terminators are gorgeous. Like,
But again, they're monstrously big, aren't they?
they're not, because I've got the ones from the Leviathan box.
Oh, have you?
I managed to wangle them, and they look they look the dingoes danglies next to
Dingoes,
Yeah.
danglies.
normal
They're
Marines.
big, but they are.
They're big,
Good.
but they're not out of proportion. And considering it says in book 3, Galaxy in Flames, when Abaddon kills what's the one who's always laughing in the Mournival, becomes Tormageddon, Tarek Torgaddon.
Yeah.
Abaddon's said to be basically Torgaddon in his power armor is only supposed to come up to pretty much Abaddon's chin. And when they're both in power armor, they're supposed to be of a similar kind of stature.
I don't like the helmets on them, if I'm honest with you. They look a bit. I'm just not a fan.
On Terminators,
Yeah, they look. I
Yeah.
don't like them.
I know what you mean. It's that weird front grill bit.
Snouty bit, yeah.
Yeah.
They
I
look
don't hate
stupid.
it.
the rebreathe, the half-helmed rebreather heads they've got on them
I'm not a
are
big.
just awesome.
See, I don't like that.
Yeah, well,
It
here's
makes
what. Here's,
it just makes me think of an Amish gentleman.
that's exactly what I was thinking. He's got a beard. Oh no.
Yeah, no, it's just. Oh,
I wonder why I might not have a problem with it
I
then.
think
I'm
the
gonna-
film.
I'm gonna
Witness
kill you
would have
now,
been-
English.
Would have been, would have been considerably more interesting had they been wearing Terminator. It's actually a very good film, to be fair. Have you not seen it? Have you seen Witness? Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
No? Roman
Yeah.
Polanski directed it. But
God.
yeah,
If you put a wide brim black cap on him,
he's
you
there,
know,
isn't he?
He's there. He's
Amish
he's
Terminator.
raising barns. He's
It
gunning
would be,
people
though,
down
'cause
with his
that's-
assault
I
cannon
mean-
made of wood.
Maybe in the 40k universe, yes, because Terminator armor's 10,000 years old, which means it's technologically appropriate. But
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's very true.
he's not going to be
That's a
after a
good
new spangly set, is he?
Not going to be getting any of his old horse and buggy. Anyway, I do thoroughly recommend the film Witness with Harrison Ford in. But yes, also, this has always annoyed me somewhat, almost as much as putting very big plumes on your helmets, is I know I'm going to wear this really great armor for protecting me. Oh, I'm just going to leave my helmet off, though, because,
Oh, yeah.
I'll never get hit in the head. Nobody would ever shoot you in the
leave
head.
me helmet off and put a massive bullet magnet above it in the shape of a cross.
Yes. Anyway, I guess you're right insofar as we're not talking about realism, because obviously walking around in a lumbering great big suit of armor like that is not really possible. But
Well, very much
Anyway.
powered, isn't it? It works.
it
you
is
know,
powered, yeah. It's
like
exoskeleton,
Iron Man's
it's-
armor, effectively.
yeah, yeah.
It has. It would have.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of the helmets. If I'm completely truthful, I think they look a bit nonsense. I'd much prefer the Dark Angels, the Terminators when they had those. They look really cool. Okay, what else have we got out of the bag then?
Let's have a look.
Rob?
So yeah. Now everything Graham just spoke about is basically wrong because it's all for 40k. Apart from that, I'll let you off with the Terminators, but Scouts may get in the bin. What we really need is obviously we've had the teaser of the rescaled new Mark III,
Yeah,
which is very different to the Burning a Prospero Mark III.
Yep.
it is, isn't it?
It's I mean, a lot of people aren't going to be able to see past the Pickle Halb helmet and go, "Oh, they're all Death Guard." But you'll be able to.
Isn't in the old book, wasn't there a picture of an Iron Warrior, like with the underslung autocannon, wearing a helmet very similar?
These guys are
Probably.
straight out of the collectible card game.
Yeah.
These guys are straight out of the Visions of Heresy. They aren't out of the design lexicon that if you've just stuck with mainstream GW for 30 years, these guys, if you go back to the Horus Heresy card game, there was lots of guys who were commissioned to create artwork for that who weren't steeped in the lore. It was lots of freelancers did stuff for that, and these are straight out of that. If you the books are great, but you can look through them as a GW Heresy fan and go, what? I'm sorry, what on earth is that? These are a bit more like that. Somebody pointed out to me that it kind of looks like they drew Mark III armor over the existing Mark VI CAD because the poses are very similar.
Oh, they are, yeah.
But I'm not going to complain.
Do you think they'll have Mark III specific helmets for legions?
Oh, of course
I
they
don't
will.
know. Maybe.
Which may make this slightly better.
God.
If you see
Of
what I mean.
course they will. There'll be shoulder pads. There'll be helmets.
Yeah,
there's gotta
that's next year. That's next year's shows. It's new helmets and shoulder pads. They have said that these will fit with the existing special weapon packs, which I found was interesting.
And the heavy weapon packs as well.
Yeah, because obviously the arms are completely different. The armor's different.
Those
you get the arms in the special weapons pack. So I wonder whether
power packs are
good point,
different on these as well, aren't they, from what they used to be?
I'm trying to find.
I haven't got a back view, unfortunately.
No, but from the
some of them are, some of them aren't. Because if you actually no, they are different because those vents are pretty much horizontal.
Yeah,
they're pointing backwards rather than downwards.
The Space Wolves upgrade kits, are they for the plastic Mark III or are they for the spoiler kits?
The what upgrades? What are we talking about here? The Grey Slayer and Grey ones. They were originally for the old Mark III.
In the plastics.
In plastic.
No, in the resins. Because the resin.
Yeah, there's a spoiler kit that's still for sale.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't get me wrong, it's more plastics. I like them. Now that we've got other stuff to go with them, like they might not end up being quite the same 5 Marines a million times over.
I bet you will.
I'm surprised they do Mark II, because that would have been because everybody's got Mark III, right? So you'd think if they were going to do something, they would do Mark II. Which
I thought these were Mark II, but basically the only real difference from Mark II is a lot of it is the visor, and then the front of the greaves are ribbed, whereas on the Mark III it's just the back.
Okay.
Isn't the chest panel different as well?
A bit, yeah. It's got some revealed it's got some exposed cabling.
Yeah, it's marginally different. That not even I would complain about that.
I do wonder
the
why
biggest
they've
change
done
on this
but
is the difference in the knees.
You call yourself a pedant?
I would call myself a pedant. What I wouldn't call myself. Well, no, I would call myself.
They are pretty chunky. They are pretty chunky, aren't they? Which I like. I'm a big fan of the chunky look.
They're taller. You can tell with the leg proportions are better.
But you're right about the poses. They are actually looking at them. The leg poses, the hand poses.
They've traced over the Mark VI. They've taken.
Maybe that's just the only way they can get the special weapons and stuff to fit. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you only need the top half to do that. Because you just need the shoulders to be at the same angle and.
Well, I was thinking because like on one of them he's got like a Nuncio box or something on there.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same as the Nuncio box thing that's in the Mark VI pack.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering whether they've used because like the Power Fist looks very similar as well on the Sergeant, as does the
it does. It doesn't look like that's not a Mark III Power Fist.
So I'm wondering whether they're using the same sprue that's got all those special weapons and stuff on it, or that you get with the Mark VI, all of the fancy business.
Possibly, it wouldn't surprise me. It's other than that. I don't know. It's got Mark VI helmets on it actually for the what do you call it, the Nuncio Vox head.
Oh, yeah, it does,
this guy does not have that Mark VI helmet.
Good point. Good point.
I think it may be the fact that it's a different sprue.
All right. Nice one. Anyway, like you say, great. We're getting some more stuff in plastics, and that's cool.
I'm certainly not going to complain about that.
Okay. And then there's more stuff, Mr. Rob's still got to do some other bits.
Deredeo.
Well, yes, because of course the Deredeo comes with it as well.
Yeah, because that's just what we need. More dreadnoughts.
Well, the Deredeo's all right.
Dreadnoughts that are not
more Lambus bread. Yes. Actually, you know what? I've kind of overlooked the Derrideo because I've kind of overlooked a lot of dreadnoughts, but
It's beautiful.
I'm going to have a quick scan through the rules. To see
Bear in
just how-
mind, I played it at Essex, and it doesn't work the same way as it used to. In
Okay.
regards to
And it's not punchy, really, is it?
split fire, I think it doesn't have that ability to shoot.
Oh, it used to have
things
that
in them.
thing, didn't it? Yeah, with the top missile launcher, the Alias missile launcher thing,
Yeah.
had that independent firing
And
thing.
it's
didn't
not
it?
really a punchy dreadnought either. So
No, but I mean, in a game that's all about currently is all about shooting mainly, it might be, it might be its time to shine. I mean, it wasn't terrible beforehand, but let's have a little
I
look.
mean, if you stick the strength 10 las cannons on it, and it can move 8 inches, it is a very useful gun base. But the fact that the top thing now can't target a different unit, I think it just
and we still
limits
don't.
its
And we still don't
usability.
have an Atamantic Pavese. They've missed a proper chance to troll everybody by putting the
I-
Atamantic Pavese in the kit.
is it in the rules?
No.
No.
It is in the rules,
Oh,
yeah.
that'd be why it's not there then.
Yeah, no,
That's probably a factor, one would assume.
that got put into the bin.
Yeah, that ship has sailed, regrettably.
I don't doubt that the way they packaged it means that we're going to get another kit with the other 2 weapons in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, makes sense.
205 points isn't bad, I guess. I mean, it's the same stats as a Contemptor, isn't it? But the thing is, you'd probably think Contemptor with 2 las cannons and a targeting array probably could be slightly, I suppose, well, they both do a similar job. There's probably not a lot of points difference there, to be honest with you.
Contemptor doesn't have heavy bolter nipples.
That's true. That is true. And I think that can the chest.
You can
things be
upgrade
upgraded?
them, I believe, to be
Heavy
Volko.
flamers.
Is it heavy
Yeah,
heavy
flamers?
you can make
Heavy
them
flames.
heavy flamers. But you don't want them to be flamers because the last
No.
thing you want is for anybody getting close enough.
Getting any
to be
closer. Yeah,
flamers.
agreed. The Alias missile launcher is only plus
Unless you're a
5
Blood
points.
Angel, in which case you take them to heavy flamers and then upgrade them to assault cannons.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Could be interesting. Like I say, I think what the plasma thing. I'll just have a quick look through the rules.
Got it here.
for
Do you
the-
want me to
Oh, yeah.
tell you what it is? The plasma cannonade. It's got 2 options: still, sustained fire, maximal fire. Both 36 inches.
Yeah.
Sustained fire is strength 7, AP 4, heavy 6, breaching 4 plus.
4+. Nice.
Or maximal is strength 8, AP 4, heavy 1, large blast, rending 4 plus, but it does get hot.
That's not so cool, is it?
I mean,
Is that one
I-
shot you'd get with the big? With
yeah.
the
So
big-
you've got those two guns.
For
fire
strength
one
eight
shot.
rather than strength. Yeah, okay.
For one bit of extra strength. I don't know if it's
I mean, you
because
could just get a contender
rending
with
and
2.
breaching.
So rending's better because rending will always
Yeah.
wound, and also it gets a D3 armor penetration, whereas breaching 4+ means that 50% of the time you're doing AP2, which is super useful.
Which is
But yeah, I think there's probably other things that you could, because you could just take a Contemptor with 2 of the Gravis plasma cannons, which would be 2 large blasts with just a slightly similar strength profile.
The ALS has got. Just had it and my eye just twitched. 60-inch range, heavy 3, pinning, guided fire. I can't tell you off the top of my head what guided fire does.
It means you don't need a line of sight.
Yeah.
So basically, you can shoot with.
But you cannot shoot a
can't shoot a different target.
to the which it's just like
That's a bit in comparison to what it was.
What's
But
the AP of it? Was it AP5? Did you say?
it's not all that.
It was never fantastic.
just-
It used to be AP3. It used to be strength 6 AP3.
Yeah, but it was good. But
still
the good
pretty
thing
good.
was you could just shoot 2 different targets. That was the
Yeah, and
thing
you could
about
just
it.
thin
like,
down
this-
that squad that was coming towards you with 3 missiles which were going to hit because you were hitting on 2s and
then-
wounding on
then-
2s and then AP3. So unless they're going to
And then
tank it on the side.
Leatherwatt's left with 1,000,000 plasma cannon shots at AP2.
Yeah, I wonder what. Anyway,
it was a good choice.
I'm not sure it's such a good choice now, to be honest with you, compared to
What
just
does
getting a
the
contender.
helical targeting array do? Can't remember.
That basically, if you don't move,
Allows
you can.
sci-fi.
No, it allows you to intercept without it
intercept,
becoming an intercept reaction. But yes, you can choose to use Skyfire if you so wish. But it's it's a useful thing. Actually, another thing about the helical target array, by the way, that I was reading today, you can't take shrouded saves or cover saves from it. Shrouded cover saves. So basically, if you shoot something they can't use the evade reaction. So that is actually quite cool, and that's particularly good on the Scorpiuses, which is strength 8 AP2. So you can't, if they don't move and they engage their targeting arrays, you can't evade them. Take the 5+ evade. So that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, I only found out as I was looking at it today, thinking, oh, that's a cool thing, because that makes them, and also maybe putting it on dreadnoughts as well, if you're worried about people evading stuff. Say 10-point upgrade for a contemptor. Anyway,
yeah, it's annoying that you can't take it with the Havoc missile launcher anymore, because that was sort of like the default layroute. You used to be able to take that with the Havoc launcher, and it was great. But now it's either or.
Sorry, what's that, mate?
The helical targeting array on a contemptor, you can't take that and the Havoc launcher, and that used to be the loadout. You took the Havoc launcher because you had the helical target array.
I mean, Havoc launchers were never much anyway. To be honest,
no.
Small blast. I think there were 2 shots though, which made them slightly better than they are.
It's just a bit annoying. It's just a personal annoyance, but it's fine. Anyway, so what, Chris, else have we got there going on?
What else have we got going on? Sorry, I was looking at a thing. Right. So we have a new starter set on its way. Contains 30 Mark III Marines, whether you like them or not. A Deredeo, a frame of special weapons, and a Land Raider Proteus, I believe, is the particular Land Raider of choice. It's going to be called the Legion Astartes Battle Group. And we have no idea what it's going to be, and we have no idea when it's going to come out. But
apart from that, we know everything we need to know.
It's an odd selection.
I imagine before Christmas
things.
Yeah, I would agree.
You can't make an army out of it, really.
No, there's no HQs.
Yeah, you've got 2 heavy support choices.
That's all you need, though.
Possibly more if you use those special weapon sets, because you could have potentially 3. Special weapons.
Well, no, just special weapons.
2 10-man units. 2
Well, the way they've got on the
boxes,
units. 2 5-man special weapons units and 2 10-man tactical squads.
It's just odd. It's a support box set as opposed to a starter box set. I would say
it's something I would. If you get the first box set, I would be like, yeah, okay, I will use this to reinforce.
Yeah,
what I got in that first box set. If that makes any sense.
Depending on how they price it could be amazing.
Actually, depends on the price. Somebody was moaning about this the other day, and I was like, I don't think it's ever bothered me, but maybe it bothers other people. Quite often in my armies, I may have a unit with Mark IV, a unit with Mark III, a unit with Mark VI in my army, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Some people say, well, that's it. I can't do my Mark III army now by having all of the army in Mark III, and that's never bothered me. But of course, these things wouldn't bother me. I mean, I'll put mixed armors up all over the gaff.
What they want a whole army in one armor mark.
Correct.
Or...
If you're going to do like Lunar Wolves army, then I think I can understand it.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing,
well, I don't know, Lunar Wolves. Now you can just do the Mark III.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you've got that.
There's a lot in the books about how.
But I don't know why you would want to do a whole army in one armor style, because it's not representative of what any of those forces would have been like.
I get, unless, like you say, it's a specific kind of reenactment level.
I mean, there are
even so. I mean, people weren't rolling around Normandy with it all identical, exactly as well.
Yeah.
Well, even in where you've got certain armor marks which are associated very strongly with one particular legion, like say Iron Warriors are very strongly associated with Mark II and Salamanders Mark III, etc. It's not like they didn't have the other armor marks.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've never, because obviously I'm more of a player in the game playing sense. Not in the nightclubs.
I mean,
he's not in that.
Just take the Iron Warriors, yes. So they're very much they favoured, or rather they had a lot of Mark II. They didn't get a lot of the others, but Mark III was a specialist armor mark that they used for breaches and stuff. So and for areas before Terminator armor became common. So they would have had it for sure.
I never, like I said, I guess I can understand it. Like say if you want that very uniform look. Fair play to you, for sure.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah, and I think that was the thing, was that they wouldn't be able to, and I'm sure there's plenty of Mark III out there still on Tinterweb, particularly on eBay, because it used to be in the Calf sets, didn't it? And I'm sure there's still people breaking those up from and there's still bits.
That's where I got all mine from. I was buying them at £15 for 10 when I was
No,
buying
right.
mine in 2017.
Fabulous.
yeah, I mean, it's gone up a bit. The Mark VI, for example, is about 20 quid for 10.
I think I did
Yeah.
buy some Mark III a couple, maybe a year or two ago, and I've still got them. Actually, I need to put them together. But obviously, my hatred of putting Marines together is holding me back. Maybe these guys are going to be snap fit, and you can't
Oof.
pose. Wouldn't that be
I-
magnificent?
No,
I-
it wouldn't. It'd
that
be
would be
vile and horrible, and you're
Christmas.
doing it deliberately to try and annoy me.
I bet he's not wrong. I don't think they'll be snap fit, but I imagine the number of poses you'll be able to
They'll be
achieve out of them.
monopose like the Mark VI because they've just traced over the Mark VI.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
It's kind
But
of
yes, yeah.
I kind of expect that these days. I mean, it's an annoyance, but it's sort of like, here's the thing: people want more dynamically posed, more action posed models, but you can't really get that to a degree with multi-parts. You're very limited in what you can do. But
Yeah, but
Bring on
the
the
thing about
snap.
you
What
cut
about
it
your
in
army
bits
doesn't
off,
look like
snipping
every
it,
other
gluing
buggers,
it, and
which
yeah.
I'd take my army looking like mine and not looking like everybody else's over having bonkers Marvel special edition front cover poses on all my Marines.
yeah,
Yes, and I would like to say I'll be quite happy. Just snip, snap, three
Well,
clacks, and it's done. Job
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Fantastic. Can rattle off
Of course
100
you
Marines
would be.
in
of course
2
you would.
hours. I would be so happy. So happy. Anyway, I'm clearly not the target demographic for the modelers out there. Okay, so
Next
new
then,
sponsor-
Graham?
Well, anyway, yeah, as all of that was going on quite nicely, and there was some shenanigans with this, actually. We got a Demon Fulgrim, which there has been much love given, in the figurative sense, to this model, because he is a ginormous beast. Looks like he's just stepped out of Angel Exterminators. I think that was the one, wasn't it?
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
It's a,
A very cool bit where he turns into a
Funny
demon
that.
prince.
Graham
It's a
mentioned
shame
the
there are
book
so
and
many
it's
bits
one
of
with
him that-
Iron Warriors in it.
I read that one. Sorry, Chris, you were saying
he
that?
has Sanguinius's head. He has Sanguinius's left and right upper arms as well, just in the same pose.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
See there. See,
I do
he's
like the
got
bit
a
on the website
sneering
where it's
kind of pose, isn't he? I don't think he's quite as. He's got a different face. He looks more. That's a nice paint job, actually. It looks lovely. I've got
it
to
is
say.
very similar to the Sanguinius.
So I heard a rumor that the plan was this was going to. So the 40k team were going to do Demon Fulgrim, but not for a number of years doing the line. Because this is going to be a resin. This is a Forge World model.
It says on the thing, let's rip the plaster off now. No, this model won't be getting rules for Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah. So, but I think that they said, no, we need Demon Fulgrim before then. So here he is, which does make you wonder whether the other demon, what current demon versions can you use?
Magnus, Mortarion, and
Angron.
what's his Angron? Yes.
Cool. Obviously going for the full set. But anyway, that is a fantastic looking model. Utterly bonkers,
It
crazy,
Amazing.
incredible piece of
brilliant
work.
model. It would
Bloody
not surprise me if there
Those
is
wings,
a 40.
they will be a right chew on to keep on, though.
It would not surprise me in the slightest at all if at some point down the line that is replaced with a plastic one. But I think, right now we got this one and it looks great and it's fantastic.
Yeah, but I mean, the two can exist side by side, can't they? Because you have
Yeah.
you still have a Primarch and a 40k Primarch for people like the Lion, etc., etc. So anyway, I think it's a cracking model. I really do. Not ever do Emperor's Children, but if I was, that would be a challenge. But there's a lot of detail going on there. That might have to be a posted to our tame pro painter and see if I can lure him in with an Amazon Prime direction or something.
I'm not paying for Netflix anymore, so that
Oh,
might
no,
be
that's-
your inroad. Yeah.
Of course, because you can't anymore, can you? Because
Right.
yeah, there you go. So anyway,
It's
Demon
beautiful.
Fulgrim, fantastic model. Lots of
You're
stuff
going to
about-
have to put a bit of slate underneath to keep him from falling over.
Yeah. Yeah, that base you're going to have to hollow out and fill with like plutonium or a chunk of neutron star, otherwise it's going to fall over.
All right, sorry, my computer crashed there, so we lost the recording for a minute, but we got Chris back now, and me back now, so Chris is sort of frozen there in a weird pose. He's not. He's moving. So anyway, right.
It's no track destroyer.
So Fulgrim, how much do we think Fulgrim's going to be?
HD camera.
Yeah. 200 notes.
He's all wing. He's all wing and no trousers. So yeah, 200 quid.
Quite literally, no trousers. They'd fall off.
I would. You'd have to have more of a big sock.
I'm going to go with 100. I'm going to go with 150 myself. I think it'll be 150.
It'd be a hell of a sock, actually. But yes, 150. No, I think 200 quid.
More like a tubey grip. I think tubey grip is what you're after.
Tubey sock. Big tubey sock. I think when we went through this, she said Cabanda was 200 and something pounds.
Cabanda is,
which always feels like it should be
£230.
A sweet, like a chocolate bar.
Well, Cabanda.
Something like Cabanda, yeah. Can I
Blue Cabanda. Yeah, pick a 9 of them at quid.
Yeah, I was thinking something like a chocolatey type bar or thing there. Yeah. Not chocolate, fruity.
I'm going down the offie
bar, like a Wham.
I think it's an alco pop if it's anything. I'm just going down the offie. Do you want anything? Oh yeah, get me a bottle of Blue Cabanda. Yeah, it's Blue definitely.
Could also be an energy drink.
Could be a combination of an energy drink and alcoholic thing. Who's done that? Anybody done that yet? I mean, there's a market there, I reckon. Alcoholic energy drink.
Jaeger bombs in a can.
Just imagine what effect that would have on people. They'd be like angry drunk with full of energy. I mean, it's a bad combo.
That's just Boca Red Bulls, isn't it? Anyway, shall we move on to Decurions?
Totally is, Mr. B. Good point, well made. Okay, let's move on to Decurions because I'm interested in Decurions. Yes, okay. Very good.
Give me a moment. Okay, currently the state of vehicles in the 30k setting isn't great, I would say, due to several factors. Dreadnoughts outperform them a lot, attributed to, because they've got, basically, they're tougher, they're stronger, they will stay away longer, they can use all their weapons during reactions, and stay really good in close combat. So what's happened now is
we've got vehicles anymore.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we've got the Decurions brought in the fresh Cedric of Honia book. Oh, not so fresh now, but and it's really an interesting development.
Spoiler to provide alert, kids, if you're thinking Decurions are going to somehow rescue tanks from the abyss that they have been staring at,
they
ain't.
They'll rescue your wallet from the abyss of actually having some cash in it if you buy the Forge World ones.
Yeah.
But
okay, so shall we? Shall Rob? Do you want to take off from here?
So yeah, 4 Decurions available. Only 2 are accessible basically to anybody who doesn't play Imperial Fists at Sons of Horus. The 2 generic ones introduce distinct advanced reactions, adding some level of a positive dimension, but there isn't a Decurion presently that wields a sword and gives melee attack benefits to tanks, which, as a Space Wolf player, I feel is something that we need. You know, it's been a meme for that long. Drive me closer so I can hit them with my sword. The Commissar hanging out the Baneblade. Missed a trick there. When it comes to modelling, at least with the plastic tank kit, you get a suitable tank commander with a load of pintle weapons. So there's no real need to make this additional purchases for the specific ones. Correct. Forge World has released some, but they're about 28 quid for literally half a model. Why would you bother?
Yeah.
It's a good half of the model.
I mean, they're quite cool looking things. I mean, but they're expensive at 28 notes. I'll give you that. Definitely. And again, you can make, I've got literally, with the vehicle kits, you get a lot of options.
Now,
you don't get the assault cannon, which you do on the Imperial Fist guy. Fair enough.
That's the only thing.
Again, you can only really use that for Imperial Fist or, you can't even use it with Blood Angels because it's a Decurion.
Don't they get it?
That was a Decurion.
Yeah, you can't just use it as a normal Decurion.
You could just take it as a pintle mounted weapon.
Yeah, take it as a pintle mounted weapon. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Just file off the Imperial Fist stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Over to Chris.
So you reckon, Mr. B, that this is a game changer? I don't. But let's see who's going to come out victorious.
It's a game changer in that your tanks are going to be harder to fit in the figure case now because there's some bod sticking out the top of them rather than a nice flat top.
But anyway, Okay,
I mean,
let's,
how easy are they going to be to magnetize in place? I mean, they can't be that. So I
they're
think,
not.
Well, you know, it's
is the
true.
cupula going to have to go
Yeah,
around?
take the whole cupola out and just magnetize that.
Yeah.
I've done that before, so that's cool.
The whole
Okay,
top
very
of
good.
Kratos comes off because I magnetized the whole thing for that.
Yeah. All right. So what about the rules of these bad boys then? So two options. Any Legion, both, like I say, both your tank with a unique advanced reaction. Although one of these has been errated, Mr. B. I don't know if you.
Oh, had it?
Yeah.
No, I have not. Okay. Right.
Okay. You need to check all those changes to the rules as we found out from our last little deep dive.
Yeah.
Labeling apparently more effective return fire on Overwatch. However, each option necessitates a separately acquired pintle-mounted weapon, ideally a heavy bolter or a multi-melter. Yeah, okay. Probably a multi-melter, but yeah.
Yeah.
There are advanced reactions. Their applicability is somewhat specific. They don't modify the way your vehicles execute basic reactions or any Legion-specific reactions they might have access to. For instance, a tank equipped with Decurion Locus can still execute an intercept reaction, but won't be able to use their battle weapon while doing so. Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yes. At the moment, there isn't any particularly suitable generic Decurion for tanks equipped with defensive turret weapons. The defensive options, for example, would hinder your ability to fire the primary gun, while the Locus alternative would be redundant as you can already fire it. So yes, exactly right. So, for example, if you had a Punisher, which is all of its weapons are defensive weapons, although the turret, even the turret-mounted one, because their strengths sound under strength 6.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have two Punishers, for example, and somebody decides rather foolishly to move onto the board or deep strike near you, can let them have it with that squadron with all of the weapons, put Volkites on it, because the intercept reaction will work just fine because they're defensive weapons, because they're under strength 7.
Indeed. Okay. Right. So the Decurion Defensor, the first unit there, gets you the ability to use the point defense advanced reaction in situations where your unit is either targeted by enemy fire or charged by adversaries, and allows your entire squadron to engage with defensive armaments that aren't turret mounted.
It's not your entire squadron anymore.
Is it not? Oh, okay. Is that the one that's changed?
That's the very key point that they changed.
Right. Okay.
So,
fair enough. So
this is Locust Strike, yeah?
Point defense. Point defense.
Oh, point defense. Oh, maybe it is. Let me just double check that. Maybe
It's
that
Locust Strike is in the FAQ. It's not the other
Locust Strike's the FAQ.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So this can use the entire squadron. Okay, so you can fire your pintle weapons twice, and the Decurion it has to be equipped with some sort of pintle weapon, apart from a Havoc launcher, obviously, because that's not manned. So, Rob, what?
Well, obviously this bit kind of applies to me because this happens when an enemy unit declares your unit as a target, usually me. Usually return fire happens simultaneously with the active players firing, but the defensor gets to kill people before they shoot him and his unit. Slight disadvantage compared to Overwatch if you get charged, though, because with Overwatch you get to declare your reaction after knowing whether the charge will succeed. You might waste your assault phase reaction doing this, but at least you do get a bunch of damage to whoever is trying to charge you, normally me, whether they succeed or even survive or not. Make something big like a Predator or Kratos squadron quite nasty to fire at or charge. A fire that is in range of your defensive weapons is going to take a lot of damage before resolving their shooting. In some cases, such as Iron Warriors, they might even get pinned and lose their shots altogether.
No, they wouldn't, because you don't. They take leadership tests from reactions.
No, but if an Iron Warrior unit did it, can't they have things that cause pinning on their weapons?
Shrapnel bolts. Shrapnel bolts cause.
No, because you can't take morale checks from.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm wrong then.
No, not the Iron Warriors taking. The Iron Warriors causing.
No. Yeah, you still don't take leadership. It's you're doing a reaction.
If you're doing a reaction, you don't.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
fair enough. It don't matter.
Otherwise, you could get people to fail the charge with a Overwatch by failing a leadership test, which you can't do. So yeah. So that doesn't quite stack up. I'm very curious as to why on earth they've put this in, because it doesn't seem like a great reaction to us here, unless I'm missing something fundamental. So if I've got this right, you can only still fire only
you
with
get to fire you get to fire your weapon before they fire theirs.
Hold on. Unit makes a shooting attack as part of a point defense reaction. So how many times can you fire? pintle mounted weapons may make the normal number of attacks. Okay, let's have a look. So, includes model with
No,
this
following all the usual rules for shooting attacks, except that all pintle mounted weapons may make twice the number of attacks.
So it's just the pintle mounted that makes it, or is it all of them?
Pintle mounted.
Pintle mounted.
All of the all your defensive weapons.
No, it's just pintle mounted is twice the number.
Yeah.
So
everything else fires normally, and any pintle, like an assault cannon, fires
defensive
twice.
argument. Yeah, defensive weapons fire once, pintle weapons fire twice.
So all we're talking about here is an extra set of shots with your pintle mount. If I've got that right.
Yeah, that's not worth 20 points.
That's going to cost you 20 points. I mean,
and 28 quid.
I mean, okay, you might get 2 shots then with your multi-melter, which might be enough to deter a few folks. I guess 5-man Terminator Squad from charging you, but
Wall of Death. Wall of Death is the maximum number of hits.
Okay.
You don't roll
Don't
for
double it.
but also you don't roll to see how many you do. So
I think salamanders
3.
get D6, don't they, for this? That's what somebody was saying, that if you put
so they would get 6.
Yeah, and you would get 6 from if you put them on the side as well.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking multi-melters are great, but depend on range. But heavy bolters are lower cost. They've got the extra range. Yeah.
Flame of Predator would be a bit of a headache to.
I know Volkite sponsons and pintle melters.
Yeah, possibly. I think that's
2 shots, but you're only getting 2 shots for the melters.
They are twin linked with the melter gun, the multi melter now, so it does mean you're more likely to hit it. But yeah. I don't think that's 20 points well spent.
You don't get to fire your turret gun, so if it's a Sakaran Punisher or a Volkite Predator, you're
better off.
Not as good.
Actually,
better off without it.
Just during the normal Overwatch reaction and
better off without it. So I wouldn't take a Decurion with one of those.
Does it actually advanced reactions? Does it actually use up one of your reactions? Unlike
advanced reactions use up points as normal. Yeah, so it's not you get it for free either.
You know, like you do with an Orbital Scatter and
yeah.
So,
all right, what about the Defensor, Graham?
The Defensor.
Yeah,
let's have a little look. See.
Scroll down a slight bit in the notes there. You've got.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at the action, the thing. Defensor, particular option introduced a significant shift in gameplay dynamics, according to Mr. B.
Is the Defensor the one we just talked about?
No. Yes, it is.
Defensor has the point defense.
Maybe I've spelled it wrong. Sorry.
You're thinking
the
wrong. We're on the Locus.
Yes. So the Locus, not the Defensor, people, don't write in, introduced a significant shift in gameplay dynamics. This advanced reaction enables the unit to engage return fire using a single battle weapon. Additionally, the unit retains the ability to utilize any defensive weapons, though the option not to do so might be prudent, especially if smaller caliber firearms would pose a threat to the attacking enemy. What are you talking about there, Mr. B?
Also, this thing gets a Nuncio box. Just saying, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unit +1. Oh, right. Okay. In the cases where the defensive weapons are not employed, the unit benefits from a +1 to the accuracy to employ the main weapon. Not bad, actually. So main guns on vehicles isn't a very enjoyable experience, making it a bit of a game changer, i.e. you may need to think twice before you blow it up with your 10-man las cannon squad. But most, if not all, of the weapons on tanks aren't a huge number of high-strength shots. And the particular tanks that you can put it on, maybe a Predator might be a good option there. Sakaran, Punisher, and the Kratos. Yeah, good shout on the Kratos, actually. So facing the firepower, like I said, so somebody shoots your Kratos, you put a Decurion on your Kratos, he can fire that main gun back. And that may be the melter gun, which is cool.
Obviously, we've got a bit of a thing where the wording of where I put in, so I'm going to have to take that out because now they've been quite clear in the FAQ what it means.
Yeah, it's so previously it was like, if I've got two Kratai, plural of Kratos, in a squadron, and I've got Decurion on one, and they've both got the melter gun thing, which is 4 shots, 36, strength 8, AP1 melter. Then if you shot it with your las cannon squad and they were within range, you'd get 8 shots back for your listening pleasure. All likely to murderize your lovely 10-man las cannon squad. But unfortunately, it's not the squad; it's the singular unit, making it somewhat less great than it was originally worded, which is a shame, right? Because that probably would have made it.
The wording was a bit funny. I think they did intend for it to be the single model, but
yeah, I mean, there's lots of things where I'm not sure they did, to be honest with you. I think they intended to be the unit, and then people went, "Oh, that's a bit." You didn't really playtest this because that's kind of crazy. For example, if you had a Predator squadron, and I think somebody mentioned this, that you could return fire with, if they were close enough with thousands of shots or something. But Predator squadrons are 3 Predators. And let's say for lols, you put the multi-melter cannon thing on there. That's 9 shots coming back at you, strength 8 AP1, which would be pretty cool. Now it's just 3, so it's not really worth it, to be honest with you.
So, I mean, even a single Kratos returning fire with a primary weapon can be pretty tough, especially when you outfit that with defensive sponsons. And you've got to have a critical weapon, so it's got to engage with that as well. So if you've got
kind of pricey, that's a 50-point upgrade you're talking about.
Pop a Locus on a Kratos squadron, it's an interesting choice, which I think might be better than a
weapons always count as defensive, don't they?
That's correct, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And considering you're allowed to return fire, so you've got a weapon with considerable, getting a weapon with good range is good idea. So you can target those that are targeting your tank. I tend to go with melter turrets. I think I would favor the melter turret on the Kratos, despite my Kratos not having that. But they've got limited ranges. So
the melter turret's great because it's great against dreadnoughts, which is probably your biggest worry.
Yeah.
And again, maybe putting this on that might be good because obviously the favourite loadout for a Contemptor is Power Fist, Gravis, Multi-Melter.
Yep.
So if that thing gets within 12, it's going to shoot you with, even if you put your flare shield up, which is 50 points on a Kratos. And it'll probably murderize you and even blow you up before it charges you. So this would at least give it something to think about because you might shoot it back with melter guns, which will go through which will wound it on 3s, and it's down to 5+ saves at that point. And then if you if you've got the pintle mounted melter as well, that's another shot just for good measure. So that's out of the 2, I think that's a better one, to be honest with you. But it becomes expensive then because if you give it the multi-melter pintle mount and that's an extra 50 points. The Kratos already rocks in at about 300 odd points, doesn't it? If you put las cannons on it, 350 with las cannons, 50 points for the flare shield, and then another 50 points on top of that, 450. That's quite a lot of points for a single model.
As Chris pointed out, it got an shield box. So what do you think that would do, Rob?
Okay, fine. Somebody's been paying attention to France in 1940. Stick a radio in your tank.
Yeah.
It is useful if your tank's got a blast weapon, though, or if other units, of course, in your army are planning to deep strike. Although a big tank, you'd think, would be not up at the front on its own, acting as a glorified teleport homer, especially not for 450 points, if you just mentioned.
Yeah, are you sure about that, Mr.
Yeah.
I think isn't it just barrage weapons that Nuncio Vox works for? Not blast weapons.
Blast weapons.
Okay, not that I don't believe you, but I'm going to double check.
Yeah, double check that one. Apparently, executioners and conversion beamers in particular stand to benefit from the Lux's reroll on scatter.
Yes, I think it would.
Let me double check this.
So, Nuncio Vox.
Yes,
while
please,
at least one model with the Nuncio Vox is present at the battlefield, not embarked in a vehicle or building, controller and player may reroll any scatter rolls made, whether as part of a weapon or attack or deployment.
Not embarked on a vehicle or not embarked on a vehicle.
Not embarked in is on the battlefield and not embarked in a vehicle.
Yes, that would be in a transport.
Yeah.
Whereas this is
the model
the vehicle gets it.
All right, I'll let you off then.
So does it re-roll scatter?
Rerolls any scatter dice.
Mr. B, you +1 points to you. You were right. I was wrong.
I read these rules, I can't play the game, but I do read the rules.
In addition, a unit that includes at least one model of Nuncio Vox ignores the -1 penalty to leadership imposed by night fighting. It doesn't affect your deep strike anymore. Because deep strike doesn't matter anymore, does it? Because it's point and click.
Yeah. For your weapons. So I do think that the as I said, the convert, it would work really well.
It would work well if you had Whirlwind Scorpiuses, for example.
Yes, but you can't put a Decurion on that.
No, but you've got the Nuncio Vox on the Kratos.
So you re-roll them.
So the Kratos can see where you want to go, and then you hide the Scorpiuses to fire indirectly.
So I really think that this is a generic ones. I think this is the better of the two.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It still doesn't make them as good as Contemptors, though.
No,
more than present on the field. Yeah.
So I think all in all, out of the two, it's pretty niche, though, to be fair, and it's probably only really worth doing, like I said, the Kratos, potentially, because that's the one with the most number of high strength shots. You can't, unfortunately, put it on a Scorpion, on a Arcus, for example, where it would be really useful. But anyway, good shout, Mr. B, and good thing about the Nuncio box, I didn't realise that, so that's good to know. That's really good to know.
Sometimes you got to trust me. All right, what about the Sagittar then, Chris?
Sometimes, but not very often, if I'm completely truthful.
Fair enough.
What did you do the other day? We had this rules question when we were playing the other day, and you were like, "No, it's definitely right, Graham." And I'm like, "Are you sure, Mr. B?" I can't remember
which one was that.
Which one exactly was the point I was trying to make?
Might have been Drop Pod Assault we were talking about a few weeks back.
No, there was something in that you were. Oh, you tried to charge out of a Rhino. That was it.
Yeah, I forgot. I was mixing up with 40k. I was mixing with 40k.
There was a couple of mix-ups with 40k. It's downstairs mix-up 40k, as it were. That was the old Greg of the the heresy one. Anyway, very specific reference to the Mighty Boosh. Anyway,
I watched some of that the other day, and
does it stand the test of time?
Show. It does. I mean, the series does now come with a warning.
It does come with
some of the themes might be.
Yeah, we talked about it because it's like the community episode with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons as well. So it's fallen under that. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Mr. B, I think you're pretty good with that one. To be fair, I'll let you have that. You were right. And again, I think the Kratos is actually, much as it pains me to say it, Mr. B, you have given some sound advice for tanks. So welcome. Brilliant. I shall come round and bring you my Churchill tank memorabilia and deliver it to your door as an honorary member, Mr. B.
Fair enough. All right then.
What an odd looking tank that is, by the way. Just want to say
Churchill.
That.
Yeah.
Well, Matilda was beautiful, wasn't it?
Matilda
it's a ugly looking tank, the Churchill. Oh. Anyway. It's the Malcador of the of the
pretty
set,
much.
Okay, Rob, go.
Matilda's pretty.
Chris, no, I've done my bit. It's Chris.
Yeah. So now let's go to the best Decurion the universe has ever created. Makes the other one, thumbs its nose at it, and says, "Sit back down."
He whittles all over this one's chips.
He does. He absolutely does. So this is the Decurion Sagittar, who comes with just a small thing of an assault cannon and a very useful thing of an augury scanner, which is advantageous. Absolutely, and substantially offsets the cost with its equipment because he is a number of points that I had closed the PDF and was looking at the augury scanner. So someone's going to tell me how many points it is. Unless I can open it. Done.
What's the difference?
40 points. 40.
Okay, but that does come with the assault cannon, right?
The assault cannon, yeah.
And
an augury scanner.
Which is 10 points in anybody.
And a cool robot arm as well, if you get it from Forge World. That also substantially affects the cost of equipment loan. When the Sagittar engages in shooting, it boasts capability to direct one pintle or defensive weapon at a separate target from the other weaponry. This distinctive feature permits the selected weapon to benefit from either Skyfire properties or precision shots on a 5+ chance. What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's precision shots 5+. Gotcha. Yeah.
So when it's a shit, one defensive weapon or pintle mounted weapon.
Yeah.
Attacks a target at a different time. Any other, right?
Yeah. So you could fire your main gun at something, and then him and with his assault cannon and Sponson or one of the little twiddly things on the Kratos could gun down an assault
squad. Or not an and. So you can either fire one defensive weapon or your pintle mount.
Oh, okay, I do.
Oh, right, sorry.
No, sorry. But still
pretty good, because you could use. I'm trying to think. Volkite on a pintle, that would work. Defensive weapon, rather. Volkite on a defensive weapon. Kratos. Is it autocannons and las cannons it can take? It's got sponsors, but it's also got those other
it's got the little
guns,
the
isn't
little nipple guns.
Yep.
So nice.
We love some nipple guns on this show.
We do.
You do.
Well, we do.
That's why I call them chest guns.
Yeah, that's right. Because you're a prude. That's what you are. King of the prudes.
That's right.
Let's have a look.
Clearly, I am with my Tom Bombadil joke earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can take hull mounted Volkite calibers, auto cannons, las cannons. Yes. So the Volkites, I suppose, would be the defensive choice there. So for 40 points, he gives you a somewhat watered down but still useful version of Spitfire. It gives you an augury scanner, and we know how much fun they can be. And he comes with an assault cannon.
Okay.
What's not to like?
I mean,
nice.
He's
what's not to
Imperial
like?
Fist.
He absolutely is.
That's what's not to like.
The best choice, according to Mr. B's research, appears to be situating a Sagittar within the Sicarian Punisher, utilizing a Punisher rotary cannon for character targeting, which could result in units being pinned due to shell shock compounded by a potential absence of the sergeant, which would lower their leadership. On occasion, you might even have the opportunity to engage aircraft, potentially neutralizing them through sheer volume of fire. The presence of the augury scanner allows you to perform this as interceptor reaction without the constraint of remaining stationary.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is a Swiss Army knife, basically.
I mean, the assault cannon is great. 24-inch range. There's a chance to do rending, I think, isn't there? 6+?
It doesn't
jam
go wonky anymore.
Yeah. Precision shots can be handy. 5+.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally you want something with AP2 there to kind of go through a sergeant or something, but you can't get everything, can you? Mind you, having said that, if you use the multi-melter, that would be fine. So a precision shot multi-melter, take that, Sarge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good.
Have some of that.
Not bad.
And also, I think with Imperial Fists is any auto weapons, bolt weapons, or anything like that. 5+, weapon skill 5, effectively.
Yeah, 2+. Yeah.
2.
So, yeah,
nice. I think he's a good choice. I mean, whether he's 40 points, good choice. I suppose if you put him on a Punisher, for example, you would get the with the augury scanner. I think is it a model in a unit? The whole unit gets it. So you had 2 of those. You could just unleash a whole barrage of defensive weapon shots.
Oh, I think so. I didn't think about
that. So that would be a good thing to do. I've done that before, actually, just using a normal intercept reaction, and it's pretty good. The only problem is it's so depressing. I will say this, that obviously the Punisher chucks out 18 shots. You put Volkites on the side, that's another 10 shots from Volkites. Plus you put a pintle-mounted heavy bolter, so that's 2 heavy bolters. You're thinking, my God, nothing is going to live through this, right? And you do that twice. Yeah. So you end up rolling 1,000 dice and you do 2 wounds. Or they fail 2 wounds.
Juicy armor saves.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
Absolutely. So yeah, that is my only caveat. It looks like the Venator. It looks great on paper. but in the cold, harsh realities of the game, it fails.
Boots on the ground. It's
9 times out of 10 it'll fail. 9 times out of 10. Okay, so yeah. Okie dokie. So yeah, pretty good though. Quite cool.
In comparison to his compatriot,
which Michael is going to tell us all about right now.
The Decurion Lanius got a Bane Strike Bolt Cannon accompanied by
file under bag of shot.
Flag. And nearby Sons of Horus units get a leadership boost because of the big flag. In cases where these units unfortunately fail morale or pinning tests despite this bonus, the Larius steps in by utilizing his Bane Strike Bolt Cannon, which inflicts D3 wounds that bypass saves, although the damage mitigation still applies. And crucially, the failed test is considered as passed. So what else have you got to say about that, Rob?
Some words, and they follow thusly. That it's interesting that the Lanius exclusively targets fellow Sons of Horus who fail these tests. This effect doesn't extend to other units such as allied cultists, neither benefiting from the banner nor suffering from the bolt cannon intervention. So the Lanius's assistance specifically applies to morale and pinning tests in the shooting phase, excluding any involvement in melee. This peculiarly raises questions about potential concerns over accidentally targeting the enemy. So basically, he's only interested in killing his own side.
Pretty much,
So despite its quirks, though, this ability could prove valuable in some situations. Preventing units from being pinned or broken can be pivotal. These situations can potentially remove them from the game or hinder objective claiming, leading to loss of victory points. But the intervention isn't voluntary, and if a unit is reduced to a lone survivor and breaks, the Lanius will still eliminate that survivor.
What a load of old...
Also,
it drives me nuts. This drives me mad.
I know, let's invent a special character who basically that you pay points for, but is effectively on the side of your opponent.
Why in the name
in that situation? But I suppose that's the thing. He is only useful in one situation, and it is not a good situation.
No, it's very much not a good situation.
It's like a commissar, isn't it, from the old Imperial Guard days. But the thing is, the difference between those two units is massive in terms of balance, I feel.
So, yeah, the special rules are massively out. His Bane Strike cannon is
same range as yours and the same chance of doing.
I think it just has 2 less shots. So I'm just switch between PDFs here.
I think the Bane
it has 2. Yeah, it has heavy 4. Whereas the Carries is heavy 6, but they are the same.
This has breaching 6, not rending.
So it's worse. Yeah, because rending anything.
Rending 6+. Yeah, I was trying to help him out, but
I know, but no, but it's just like they're not even comparable.
No, they're not. The Imperial Fist one is much more useful than I'm going to gun my own men down.
Not taking this guy is more useful than taking this guy.
Yeah.
Yes, basically.
But this is it. But it's like they're.
I get that it's a thematic, like kind of, campaign-based thing, but he kills your. Seriously? He's not a Skaven. They should be the only people that willfully kill their own side.
That always would be balanced if you rolled 3 1s on that assault cannon and it kills your guy, one guy. Yeah. That would basically, but it's nonsensical. I'm honest.
It's not.
I mean, imagine if it's a Terminator squad.
Yeah.
And he goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah. Or
3 wounds.
Bloody ridiculous.
Fair enough.
I this is a problem. I feel this is a problem. But yeah, I get you. I don't think they're comparable. I think that there's a definite disparity there.
For that 40 points, it feels like one is a full pint and one is got a cigarette. It's half empty and got a cigarette.
I'm going to give Michael some editing to do. Flavored lollipop at a lesbian wedding.
That's a long lot of him to.
Okay, right, yeah, okay. That's a lot of editing. Thank you.
That's a lot of editing. Cheers for that. It's going to take weeks to get rid of that. But make sure you do get rid of that, please, Mr. B.
I absolutely will.
Just beep
Thank
him.
you.
Just beep him.
Just beep it.
I will. It's
Yeah.
just going to have multiple beeps.
No, just do one big long beep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Right.
how I would handle that.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So, shall we head on to the campaign?
Which I'm going to do the short version of the campaign is if the Sons of Horus hadn't brought that guy, they probably would have done better.
Yeah.
That is a good point. Okay, let's rock and roll.
Like, if the Sons of Horus hadn't brought that guy, they might have succeeded at taking Terra. But it wasn't the Emperor that killed Horus. This guy was lurking in the background of the Vengeful Spirit, saw Horus was kind of like, oh, hang on, I might be
Wavers
slacking
slightly.
in a bit, and just put a Banestrike bolter in the back of his head.
One of the other things that the book brought us, which is great to see, if I'm honest with you, is some campaign rules. Now, these previously were in the big black books. There was a number of sort of campaigns that you could run, and this is a new campaign, which is set in Cathonia. This particular campaign system is tailored for groups of 2 to 6 players, though I think there's aspects of it that you could potentially scale if you wanted to. Each commanding an army of 3,000 points, though I'm pretty sure that you could. The points isn't set in stone. The system offers the flexibility to weave together individual games that lack narrative connections, or it can be employed to sort of methodically journey through a comprehensive narrative campaign, such as in this instance, reenacting the Siege of Cathonia. So there's a couple of new business things to be considered here. So let's go through them in order. So.
Yes, you start off by choosing optional rules. So you've got to collectively decide which optional rules to incorporate in the campaign. Encompasses the selection of narrative additions from campaign supplements to give you a sort of bespoke experience, as it were.
I think I understood that sentence.
Yeah.
So there are some options there are some things that are optional. Not many,
Right.
but there are a few. Things like, we'll probably come on to it, one hopes. There's a section on characters. If your HQ dies, for example, and quite a lot of events have started to do this, there's a chance that they could get knacked over by that particular exercise. So that kind of thing is completely optional.
Like an injury roll system for the Necromunda players out there.
Yeah,
It is. Basically, you roll a d6.
Yeah, it tells you what happens.
Yeah. And somehow there's a 7 on it, so
There's a 7, so I think you can get pluses to it depending whether you won or lost.
Right.
Okay.
There's apparently and also the option to do team formation, so dividing into 2 distinct teams, loyalists and traitors. Can't imagine where I might have come across that before. In this initial iteration of the campaign pack, these 2 factions are separate without any shifting allegiances. Again, can't imagine where I might have seen anything like that happening. However, it is mentioned that forthcoming supplements might impose limitations on the forces accessible to loyalists and traitors to accurately depict historical conflicts, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things I've always said, if my ticket came in, I would love to do the whole Vrax campaign, the 40k Vrax campaign with the Krieg, and I would literally refight it, that campaign from the 3 books, model for model.
That's no different to the old black books anyway, really, because there's legendary missions that would...
No, and it's no different to every event ever, where it's like loyalists go over here, traitors go over here.
Go over there.
Just because the book tells you can't use this army for whatever.
But I guess it's to stop people going, I want to change sides or whatever, which is obviously a bit of a pain. But
to stop people giving people Haribo.
Sign up for it, yes. Okay. So
stratagems. Each
yeah.
player then has the opportunity to choose 4 campaign stratagems. These are single-use
that's
effects.
each side actually. It's not each player.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd end up with a
yeah, but
ton of them. Wouldn't you? Yeah, it's
if you're
weirdly
playing on a 1-by-1, one versus
which
one,
which I
scenario.
kind of think
Yeah.
when I've read this that it was kind of designed for.
it's not really.
It's like, you go around your mate's house and play a campaign of games rather than a 30 to 40 player campaign that you play over a weekend.
These are single-use effects that can be employed by each player/team throughout the campaign. The Onslaught campaign rules include 10 core stratagems, supplemented by 4 unique ones, specifically designed for the Siege of Cathonia narrative. These stratagems offer a diverse range of effects, such as setting up terrain to represent a bare battlefield, adding an extra heavy slot to a specific game, fielding a Primarch regardless of points, which is just nonsense, quite frankly.
Well, you still have to pay the points for them. It just means you ignore the
you ignore the limitations on
25% or whatever it is, which would imply you can play with different size games from 3,000.
Or even ignoring points restrictions for Titans, as long as
I quite like. I think that's quite cool. So you can just rock up, but you still have to have a HQ and 2 troops choices. So you're basically cheapest HQ and 2 solar auxiliary squads, and then I'm going to bring a 3,000 point Titan.
Bring a warlord.
Awesome. Off you go.
These stratagems inject an extra layer of fun and strategy into games, but they're a finite resource, creating a competitive dynamic among players as they decide when to deploy them.
I thought these were pretty cool actually when I read them. I don't think
it reads very similar to something that the 4 of us have all experienced before, and that half of the people involved in this recording have just written before.
I think there's only so many things you can do with this, but I think the other point is that's interesting. Once you use that stratagem, you can't use it for the rest of the campaign. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the extra heavy support slot is a really useful thing, but you have to do this before you decide the armies. So it's not just a question of you going, okay, we're going to surprise extra heavy support choice. You have to basically say, we're going to be in the next round of the campaign, we're going to be using these stratagems so that you can then change your army lists to reflect those, if you so wish. So I think that's another key point to remember. Yeah, which is what we don't do in Company Legends, for example, where each round, the stratagems, if you like, can be bought. So anyway, as the campaign progresses, characters, as I mentioned, can sustain injuries and damage, and this is optional. After a character is eliminated during the game, or if they're falling back by the end of the game, I believe roll a d6 to see if there's any long-lasting effects. They might include reducing wounds and leadership, but you might also get extra bonuses, like attacks in the next engagement due to a hunger for vengeance, which is one of the things you can get. I think, can they die outright? Don't know if roll one, or does it just take? I think
mortally wounded is the one. The model may not be used in any further battles during the Onslaught campaign, and the opposing player gains a bonus of +1 to end the campaign.
It's a really weird mechanic. Do you cover this? Do you cover that mechanic?
It's further down.
Okay.
I'm curious. It's absolute bonkers. It's a pretty simple system for doing it. I think we could pretty much nick that if we wanted to.
I think the problem is, though,
slightly reskin it, but
I think the problem is with doing that is you've brought your models to play.
Yeah.
And it's not like a campaign where you're doing it once a week maybe, and so you can go home and think, or once every month, and you go, okay, well, my HQ's been wiped out, I need another HQ. But interestingly, they're saying that if you take something like -1 wounds or -1 leadership, and you then don't play that character, you can never play that character type again, and which includes if you've got a Praetor. I mean, you can't just sub them in for, if you've got Jeff the Praetor, you can't just say, well, Jeff the Praetor's got -1 wounds in the next battle, so I'm not going to have Jeff. I'm going to bring in Bob the Praetor, who looks remarkably like Jeff did, to be fair. But you can't do that. Basically, the Praetor type would then be not available to you to stop that kind of shenanigans. But again, I think this is more around geared towards long-running campaigns over a period of time, whereas if you're going to a weekend event, you've only brought a finite number of models with you. You don't want to be I painted this model and now I can't use it because after the first battle he's dead.
I would would take out I would change mortally wounded. I would do it so that he has one less wound for the next game.
Yeah.
For instance,
sensible.
I would adjust the characteristics as opposed to saying.
To be fair, I think the Imperial Truth event that I went to way back in the day in Cardiff did that.
Yep.
It's the only problem is keeping a track of everything.
That is
because every player looks, unless they've got an eidetic memory, they refer to the books and go, how many wounds have I got? Look in the book. You're 3 hours into an event or whatever, you're not going to remember that.
Or the third game on a Saturday.
Yeah, someone's
exhausted.
Actually,
like
novel.
Blood Bowl type tracking sheet type of thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, I think that's it's certainly doable. I mean, whether it brings much to the game in the weekend context over I can see it being something that would be interesting from a long running campaign like a Battle Bunker or something.
Honestly, I think this is as you said, this has been written as if you and Mr. B were just going to play a few games
series of games, with some sort of narrative to kind of
give it a framework so it's got something around it. So then
I think it's the kind of thing we could do with a few guys at the club or whatever.
No, I mean, basically, we can use this at the Battle Bunker, to be honest, because it's not a bad. Apart from one particular thing, it's not a bad system.
Should I talk about that one particular thing?
Yes.
Let's
the
get
central
into it.
mechanism of this campaign revolves around seize the moment rules. During each round of the campaign, players from opposing teams are paired off, and the side with the most victories, or in the case of a draw determined by a roll-off, gets the opportunity to execute a seize the moment roll, which signifies the accumulation of momentum within their faction, potentially leading to initiation of a climactic final battle that will ultimately determine the campaign's outcome. A comparison
the AI
of wins.
is getting better at writing, I must say, Mr. B.
Yeah.
I did a lot more editing on this.
Does the person
who
who loses that roll off get to roll a live, laugh, love roll? Which
seize the moment, seize the day, carp jugulum. Oh, that's seize the throat, isn't it? Okay, sorry.
Seize the fish.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So a comparison of wins between the two sides dictates the roll's complexity. For instance, a single victory triggering in the moment would necessitate rolling a 6 or higher. But as you get more victories, the requirement diminishes. So if your side secures 4 wins while your opponent has 2, you need a roll of 5 or higher. 2 or higher to seize the moment. Achieving 5 wins automatically triggers seizing the moment. So it's not like an indeterminate campaign. There is a climax.
Which, I mean, the season moment, if you have the season moment and you basically force the last game, the other side can't use any stratagems, which I think is the mechanic they're going for. I would be if you think, I'm going to run a six game campaign as an event organizer, right? If I say, okay, we're going to have a 6 game campaign here. After game 1, somebody, the traitors or the loyalists, there's 4 games, 8 people or whatever, roll really well, and they basically force the next game to be the last game, which would be a bit nonsense, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I would personally, I'd ignore seize the moment, and I would just be planning, 6 games, final, 6 games is the final battle.
I mean, what I would say
is, I don't see what it adds to anything.
I think the only thing it adds to it is the fact that you can't use the stratagems in the last game, as far as I can tell. But you could just do that by going, who's got the most
agree
victories?
That yourselves.
I'm just saying, who's got the most victories?
Yeah.
But the thing is, the last game in these campaigns is the decisive game. So in theory, you could get trounced on every round as the traitors. But if you win the last game, you win the battle. So, but I think there's a better way of doing it, which is just who's got the most number of victories, who's won the most rounds, right? Whoever the opposite of that is, whoever they don't get any stratagems. If they still win it with no stratagems, fair play, they've won the campaign.
Also, it's that thing of why it starts after 1 win.
Yeah, another thing would be let's have it after 3 or something.
Yeah, I would shift it all up by at least 1, because you know that I can't imagine that anyone's going to take this and go, we have to do it as the book tells us to do this.
Yeah. No,
I would like to think that people would go, we've playing the game, right? Roll, seize the moment. Oh, it's a 6. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll ignore it this time, and we'll,
They're
shift
more
it
of
down
what
the
you
line.
might call guidelines.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it just
Thank you,
feels
Mr.
like
Rush.
it just feels like an unnecessary thing.
Yeah. Shall
to
I
add
explain
in.
what that unnecessary thing does?
Go on, please.
Yes, please do.
So once someone has carped the jugular and seized the moment and lived, laughed, and loved, a concluding decisive battle is enacted. This final game often embodies a cinematic apex mission intensifying the excitement and stakes. Does it? All right. Okay. Players who have saved I mean, if it's last game on a Sunday of an event, excitement can be tricky because you're just knackered.
Indeed.
Players
We've
who
never
have
had a
saved.
problem with excitement on the last thing on a Sunday.
I
We
never
always
have a
leave a
problem. I
big
never have a
finish
problem with excitement
on a
when
Sunday.
you're around, sweet
Oof.
cheeks. Players who have saved stratagems to impact the final game must heed a caveat. The winner of the Seize the Moment role is permitted to utilize a single stratagem while all others are forfeited. To heighten the anticipation, sorry, I said that wrong. To heighten the anticipation of these seize rolls, the campaign introduces several achievable accomplishments that grant a modifier to the dice roll, potentially triggering the final mission. For instance, doubling your opponent's victory points could provide a +1 modifier to the dice roll. The book hints at additional achievements in forthcoming volumes. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think there's better ways of doing it. To be honest with you. I get what they're trying to kind of do here, which is you are the person that wants to initiate the final battle, because that's the way you reduce the other side's stratagems. And ultimately, it could come as a surprise. I think I'm going to hold everything back and wait for the final mission. But if you don't win that seize the moment, then you could have wasted your stratagems, which I can see that being a thing. But I suspect there's probably a better way of doing it, like the first team to get to X points, for example, would also do the same thing, surely. So if you said actually the first side that wins 3 rounds is the side that's basically seized the moment, and then that's the side that goes into the final battle with stratagems intact.
Yeah.
And that could take, that could take forever for one side to get, or two lead advise or something.
The thing, what you could do is have each side has, say, 20 points. The number of points that this other side achieves when they win, that gets deducted from the other team's amount, and then you would have it incrementally going down as to how many stratagems they could use to make it to have that resource management element.
So like a fixed number of points in the game in total, and like it depends who steals the points off the other team. Yeah. Okay.
Basically,
that sounds cool.
you win points, and that comes off your opponent's total, because then you've got that thing of mitigation between the victories. A close victory will mean a close metric or close victory point total difference would mean that the disparity was representative of the effect.
There's something there for sure. I get you. I mean, it's a mechanic that you could probably do to do a little bit more in that. But I guess, and it doesn't sound overly complicated what you're saying, by the way, Chris. Either I don't think it's beyond the.
Oh, give me 20 minutes. I'll have it figured out.
Yeah, but you either take the points off and then you get them back by taking them from the other person. There's a finite number of resources on the planet, and that can be simulated by that action, for example. And other things could go in effect, and maybe some games you could have certain things on those games to reduce those points individually, so people would have a bit more agency. But there's definitely
that makes sense.
Anyway,
so up spreadsheet.
Okay.
Let's start planning Company Legends next year with our new campaign system. Okay.
Right. Do you want to talk about the special rules then, Chris?
Hello.
No, he wants to play with his spreadsheet.
I want to work out a way to make this thing happen now. So the rest of this recording I'm going to be completely oblivious to, because my brain is just going, how can I do this? Right, what am I doing? Special rules. These rules introduce flavor mechanics. So you can have it sweet and spicy, something with a bit of a Thai twist, whatever you fancy.
Yeah.
These special rules encompass elements like the ability for loyalists to deploy supplementary fortifications at the start of battles, modifiers impacting psychic tests, and enhancements to the strength of
I thought this was pretty cool.
demons.
This was good.
All 2 models of them.
Talking about flavour.
Flav.
Was it Flavor Flav from what the name of the band?
I want to say Public
DMC.
Enemy, but I think that's not right.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
It's Academy. Oh no, is it?
No,
is
it's Run DMC. Yeah, it's Run DMC.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
Or is it?
Flavor Flav.
I thought it was Public Enemy.
Okay, let's find out. I think.
No, Flavor Flav's Run DMC. He's in the Aerosmith video, Walk This Way. A giant clock round his neck.
No, that's Public Enemy.
That's
Isn't.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't.
Right.
It totally is.
Isn't.
Flav.
You're
Public
doing
Enemy.
like-
Flavor Flav.
okay.
I
So,
was right. It is Public Enemy.
Is it?
I said Public Enemy.
Okay, you were right. You said Public Enemy. Yes,
all right,
Flavor
Graham,
Flav.
do you want to talk about the core missions then? If Chris
Hang
is
on,
Oh,
we're
edit
not
that bit
finished.
out.
We're
Stop your
not
nonsense,
finished.
Mr. Editor.
okay.
Stop trying to
We're-
make.
we're
Stop trying
on
to ruin our
tangents
fun.
still.
Yeah.
Trying to
Flavor
get-
Flav.
We get back to your painting.
Didn't he have a TV show and it all got a bit weird? Like, I think he's a bit of a maniac.
He's a bit of an utter. No, the Run DMC chaps, Rob, didn't have big clocks. That was Public Enemy. They had the kind of Trilby-esque hats, dark
Of
outfits.
course.
Run
You're
DMC.
thinking
They
of
did big chains
Anthrax and Public
Yeah.
Enemy doing Bring the Noise.
but Run
I am,
DMC
rather than-
did
yeah.
do Walk This Way.
We did Walk
They
This
did,
Way. I'm
they
getting,
did,
I'm
they did.
getting my
Controversial.
rock bands beginning with A confused.
Controversially, and I'm going to say this on the record, right? Have you listened to the original version of Walk This Way?
What without
Yeah, Aerosmith's
Run
original.
DMC
Yeah,
on
yeah.
it?
Not as
Yeah.
good.
It's not as good. The Run DMC version is better. I'm
Yep.
going to say it right now. As controversial as that sounds.
That's not controversial.
Anyway.
That's common sense.
Very good. Okay, cool. Great tangent, by the way. Right. So anyway, to engage these campaign missions. Oh, sorry, Chris, you're still looking at.
No, I was just trying to.
Yeah.
I was trying to
Yeah,
see what
Anthrax
the
and Public Enemy Bring the Noise, which is a cracking song, by the way.
Yes.
ancient domain is that one of the things that are special
Yeah.
rules.
Engage these campaign missions, which can also be incorporated into standalone games. The book provides 5 core missions. Oh no, you're talking about special rules for Cathonia. Apologies.
It was no, it's all right. Don't worry.
Yeah, there are some. Oh, you haven't got them. You're going straight into the missions.
Yeah, I
So-
haven't expanded on in deep into the special rules. I
Yeah.
haven't.
Special rules are pretty cool, actually. The demon one I really like. I thought that's quite a cool,
Sure.
themey thing.
Just trapping down the things. I've just closed this stupid thing.
But anyway, worth having a look at. They do add some additional flavour, and they are quite narratively focused. So obviously, one assumes this is a mechanism they're going to enhance as time goes on. Or
I would
Yeah,
hope so.
We might just be seeing the foundations of these at the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, alongside the campaign rules themselves, there are missions, which can be incorporated in standalone games. So one of the things we've been desperate for, we've always had the 6 rules, the 6 missions from the core book, and a couple of exemplary missions which are very, very specific. Now we've got 5 additional missions which can be played on a regular basis, which is awesome, giving us a total of 11. These can be used for both competitive and casual gameplay, as can all the missions. 5 distinct new core missions, and there's also 3 deployment maps, but you can only use 3 deployment maps, which is Hammer Anvil, Dawn of War, and Search and Destroy. So Hammer Anvil is the short table edges, 24 inches each deployment zone. Going that way always awkward, I find. Hammer Anvil, of course, the classic. Sorry, Dawn of War, of course, everybody's favourite, really. 12 inches on, 12 inches the other side. And Search and Destroy, which is out of all of them probably my second favourite deployment map. Which is
okay.
Yeah, which is where you have the 18-inch circle in the middle. You have a table quarter with that bit cut out, so you have a quarter of that circle out, and you're pretty close. So for close combat armies, you can get up close and personal. You've got a big kind of deployment zone.
It's not that stupid ambush one. That's just
No, ambush is just the worst. I don't even know why they put it in there. It's just nonsense. I mean, it'd be good as a themey mission for some particular thing, but my God, it's you can have good games with it, but I think you have to have the right kind of balance of
Lists,
armies. So yeah, strategic deployment zones is somewhat unbalanced. There isn't a straight, D3 roll as you expect here. There is a slight skewing. So, is that Chris? Sorry,
no, that's you.
So basically, on a roll level 1, I think you get the the search and destroy. So that's the kind of quarters with the circle in the middle. On a 2 to 5, I think you get search and destroy, Dawn of War. I think, or it might be 5 and 6. You get the Hammer and Anvil, which is probably my least favourite one, actually. You'd think it would be my favourite being a shooting army, but it's just a pain. To get most of the tables that we play on, it's quite hard to actually get around the sides of, so it's always a bit of an awkward.
Very true.
Anyway, so 3,000 point battles, of course. But you can, and you have used other ones. I would also, when me and Mr. B played a 3,500 point battle recently.
We did. Yesterday, in fact.
Yes, it can get a bit crowded on a normal 6x4. And equally, at 2,000 points, you probably would want to reduce the size of I think you should reduce the size of your play area to maybe knock it down by 12 inches long and 12 inches down. Well, not 12 inches down, but certainly 12 inches across. Anyway, Michael.
So all the missions comprise of 4 turns, devoid of any random game length extensions. Progressive scoring.
Not a bad shout, this actually. This is something else, because again, games take a long time in this version. I don't know what it is, whether it's just rules or whether it's the mechanics of the game itself, but they do take longer. I mean, we could rattle through 3,000 points in no time at all, 2.5 hours maybe. But now it's 3,000 points is going to take you a good 3.5 hours, it seems to be.
So we've got a uniform set of secondary objectives, so all the missions share the same secondary objectives.
Sensible.
So slay the warlord, we know that. The others, whilst they share names, they've been adjusted from the core rules. So there's 2 secondaries awards points for killing units in the first.
No, there are.
We changed that.
We haven't changed that.
Is that? I'm saying has it changed? Right, let's have a look.
They errated the first strike one because it was nonsense.
Right, secondary. First strike is ignored. Okay, fair enough. Right, okay. So you've got break their ranks, which pertains to the first player turn, and it's basically you.
It's
you
first
have to,
blood,
yeah, sort of. The mission. The progressive scoring always revolves around objective control, which means that line units become really important in this.
There isn't a blood feud style.
Yeah, winning is about victory points, not tabling your opponent.
Yes, it's interesting because it's like tabling your opponent doesn't guarantee a victory. Technically, you could win the game and be tabled because it's basically the number of victory points that you've accumulated up to that point. And if you'd basically gotten some objectives early doors, you could have racked up some victory points, get completely tabled, and the other person, the game could finish quite quickly after that. They haven't got enough time to kind of come back at you, if you like, and sit on some objectives for 3 or 4 rounds or 2 rounds or whatever. And so you could actually win the game, even though you got wiped out, which is quite bizarre. You do get 1 victory point for tabling your opponent, to be fair. But again, the game of 4 turns, you're going to want, if you're playing these, you're going to want your line units on those objectives turn 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle to claw those points back. Now we talked through these missions because some of them are easier to do than others.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, one thing that's going to grab narrative gamers in, of course, is it is going to be these Apex weapons.
Oh, you haven't gone through the missions themselves. You're just kind of giving us okay. Okay. Well, that's a shame because there are most of them are objective based. The one that we played yesterday was the classic kind of 3 objectives.
But 3 objectives in no man's land.
Yeah, but you've got 1 point for every round you were on it. But I think the differences between that and the other ones that you have where it's objectives per round is the objectives are scored at the end of your turn. Usually they're scored at the beginning of your turn.
Yeah.
So basically, normally you have to survive a round of being on that objective to score the point. Whereas in this, all you got to do is get to it, and you get a point at the end of that turn.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. You see what I mean? So, yes, you can still survive another round, but ultimately you will get the point for it. Rather than what happens sometimes is you get on the objective. I see you're on the objective. I destroy you, so you don't get any points. Whereas with this, if you had that at the
Is
end
that
of your turn,
the Heart of Battle one?
yes. The other one that I looked at, I can't remember the other two, was you basically have one objective in the middle that's worth 5 points per turn, which actually sounds like quite a lot of fun. Because basically there's one objective, you've got to get it. And then we've done a couple of those in Company of Legends. Yeah, we've done that in Company of Legends. We've had like you've got to get to a certain point. There's only one objective. You've both got to get to it by the end of the game or something like that. This is quite a cool mission. They're not asynchronous, so they're basically both sides have to do the same thing. We tend to play kind of asynchronous or create asynchronous missions these days. But yeah, what's the other ones that are on there very quickly, Chris?
We've got Strike and Fade. So at the end of each of the player turns, the active player scores a number of objective points equal to the current game turn number if they control the objective marker. That's quite cool, actually.
That is cool. Yeah.
Once any player has scored victory points in the objective, it must be immediately scattered D6 plus 6.
We've done that.
Yep. We've done that. But that's cool. I like that because D6 plus, it's going to make life interesting.
Yeah.
I suppose the thing is
and we did Crucible of War was the mission we did, the first one.
At the end of each of their player turns. So it's going to shift about fair old.
Yeah, it's going to go all over the place, which is quite cool. Again, that does make it interesting insofar as you can't just kind of camp the objectives.
Yeah, you can't.
I suppose these set moves, then, but I suppose there's only so far it's going to reasonably move. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's not impossible to camp it necessarily.
No,
the most it's ever going to move in a 4-turn game because it's going to move 48 inches max.
Yeah, because it's 4.
Well, it's D6 plus 6, so it's it's
more likely to be. What would that be? D6
would be
7. It's more likely to move 28 inches.
Yeah.
So, that would be 7 because it's D6 plus 6, so it's a fixed 6. So the 1 to 6 is going to be random every time, isn't it? Certainly.
So it's a minimum of 7.
Probably it's going to be 7. Yeah. Minimum of 28. Yeah. Nice.
That's pretty cool. The objective marker has to be placed. Hang on, what? Before any models are deployed on the battlefield, a single objective marker is placed in the center of the battlefield, it's placed in the center. Once the objective marker has been placed, it should be scattered D6 plus 2. So it's always on the move. And you have to re-roll the scatter. So a hit doesn't count as it staying put. You have to re-roll it until. But those doesn't. If I don't have one to hand, I'm pretty sure on the hit thing, one of the arrows is always bigger than the others anyway.
Yeah, there's still a direction on the hit side.
Yeah, so sure you would just.
Yeah, I mean you could do that if you want to.
Just follow the
little dash on the hit arrow. Yeah, I mean, I like taking a whole mission. I like 2 objectives, basically one in each other's deployment zone. But if you control both of them, you get extra victory points per round, which means you could turn the tide if you like. I think you know what I think as missions go, these are good. I think these are interesting.
They're not
terrible,
overly complicated either.
Yeah,
you're not.
Which is a mistake that I think you can make with missions, and one that I would quite admit have made in the past. Is you try and do something really clever, and it doesn't actually work very well on the battlefield when you've got 30 people playing. Going, what the hell are you trying to get us to do here? Yeah. But I think these are good missions. I've got to be honest with you, and I think that they're definitely that people should be adding them to their sort of lexicon of gameplay experiences.
Absolutely. All right, what about the Apex missions then, Rob?
Yeah, so these are there to sort of drag in the fluff bunnies. Basically, they're thematically grounded in the events of the book's narrative. They serve as climactic conclusions to the campaign. And a unique twist accompanies these missions, which is that players are granted the opportunity to preview the mission in advance and construct their armies to align with its thematic essence. So, if it's a infantry assault up a cliff, leave your tanks at home, Jeff.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, Jeff.
Type scenario.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
This feature is particularly exciting as it enables players to effectively translate the conflict's lore straight onto the tabletop. So some proper hysterical wargaming type thing.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily tailored for balanced play.
Actually, before we go any further, and this is a very tangential thing. Mr. B and I were in the Durham Club, and they had like a sort of 8x8 square table playing, the old Hail Caesar.
Oh yeah,
the Warlord Games one, with all the historical stuff.
Yeah.
Got to say, it looked awesome.
Yeah.
No tanks, which is normally my default for any kind of wargaming experience, as well, But I've got to say, the historical thing there looked pretty damn cool. It did look cool.
Hordes upon hordes of Celts, and
I mean, they weren't massive armies because they were 28 mil, so it wasn't like they were like little Napoleonic mini epic things. But it still looked like quite a cool game because there's like 4 or 5 people playing at the same time. It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Rob. Apologies for interrupting
you.
It just reminded me of that when you were talking about.
That's all right.
Historical gaming.
So these aren't tailored, like I say, for balanced play. Some instances, one army might significantly outnumber the other, but it's a deliberate asymmetry. It's intrinsic to the book's purposes because, it's a campaign. It's built around that, not about, fair fights, so to speak. Sometimes it's quite common in historical wargaming to show lopsided or unpredictable outcomes, and the whole point is attempting to reshape the course of events that actually transpired. It's that whole kind of what if, counterfactual kind of sort of scenario. So if you can't handle that, then you might want to just leave this book on the shelf.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can't handle counterfactual, you might not want to be playing Heresy at all, to be fair.
It isn't really a fact, is it, per se? But yeah, I get your point. Is that there are certain missions, and there have been a few good missions where it's hard for you, almost impossible for you to win, and that's kind of a more of a fictional historical context that actually it didn't go all that well.
Playing the ambush mission.
Yeah, I was going to say it didn't go all that well on Istvan 5 if you're a salamander, for example.
Yeah.
But I suppose you could have the what if scenarios. Cool. So yeah, go Chris.
Hello. I was absolutely paying attention.
Bonkers deep in your spreadsheet, weren't you, mate?
No. For instance, in one scenario, the defender commands 25% more points, as we're at, than the attacker. However, the attacker gains the ability to deploy mines and orbital hulks onto the battlefield before launching their assaults. Conversely, the second mission employs 4,000 point armies for the defender, initiating the battle with 2,000 points on the board, awaiting reinforcements. Meanwhile, the attacker employs hidden underground bastions represented by blast marks on the battlefield to ambush the defender. The defender can opt to destroy these bastions to impede the attacker's reinforcements, but this decision entails fewer attacks on the attacking forces. The defender faces a challenging endeavour as they must expend victory points to bring units on from reserves. This culminates in a dramatic last stand with the defender fiercely battling to acquire the resources needed to reinforce their ranks.
In theory.
Although these two missions may not be suited for a balanced match play context, they deliver exceptionally captivating and memorable battles.
They should. Potentially.
It's the same as all the one. The one that always stands out to me is the one where, from 1.0, is when Russ and Magnus are meant to be in the middle of the battlefield fighting, and everything else goes on around them. They're not designed to be sensible games, are they?
No. There was a really good Raven Guard one, though, when they got kind of ambushed. I think it was an Istvan 5 one, but it was really cool. Remember that being particularly good. I think it was Raven Guard versus World Eaters. Actually, no, that's one. I'm saying it's really cool because we wrote it. Somebody asked us to do that bespoke mission. Do you remember?
Yes, yeah.
Is that the one you did for Nova Open?
No, this was another one. Somebody said.
Someone said it's a question and we came up with an idea.
We did a mission. That's why it was cool because we wrote it. Right.
That's why we loved it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, all in all, what do you think of the book? Because I know we haven't covered every aspect of the book. Covered most of it. So
I
far,
really
what do you
like
think?
the book. I think it's really good.
Campaign system. What's your overall feelings about the campaign system? I think we've
Not
all agreed
perfect,
that
but it's better than none.
it's pretty good. It would all right with two people.
I've got mixed feelings about the campaign.
I think it's pretty good. I think there's bits that I wouldn't use, which is that strategic advantage thing, whatever it is. But I think there's other mechanisms you could use in the sorts of campaigns that we run at a weekend that would equally, give you that sense of urgency. But the missions are great. I think the move towards, victory points being scored each turn rather than just doing it right at the end, or just killing everything makes for a more interesting game. Because it means you have to get troops to a location and you have to stop people scoring lots of points, which does make it interesting. And again, the stuff going on around that, it could be utter carnage. But ultimately, if you're scoring victory points each turn, then you're going to win the game.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm a big fan of that. The Decurions, like I said, I think are not great. They're okay. The Locust one is the better one. The defensive one, not
The
defensive.
Sons of Horus one, just don't.
Just don't. Yeah, it's just not worth it.
It's so odd.
Just say no, kids.
So weird. I mean, I can see it from a thematic point of view, but no.
Yeah.
Not in the kind of games that we play these days, which are a little bit more competitive than they used to be, for sure. But yeah, I think you'd have to give yourself one victory point just for taking him, frankly. That would be the rule. If you take this guy, you get one victory point just for taking him because it's super themey. But yeah,
still not worth it.
Still probably not worth it. So yeah,
Definitely still not worth it.
Good. The missions I like. I've got to say those 5 missions should be played more often. I think they're pretty cool, and even the narrative ones are fun.
It's good to have new basic missions.
Yeah.
That are different enough that it's not going to be.
The thing is, how does this
crazy.
campaign to the which I thought was the high watermark for campaigns, which was the Shadow campaign in Book 6, Black Book 6.
Yeah.
Because that had its own set of missions as well, and they were really good, I think.
That's still, for me, that's still the best campaign.
It was the Shattered Legion one, wasn't it? Yeah, it was really good. That was very good. Okay, cool. Good start. Let's see what happens in the future. So next out the bag, we had a exemplary battle update thing, and this is an interesting one because a long association with the game, lots of people were like, "Oh, I wonder if I'm going to use these cool Forge World models," and you never have been able to use them in Heresy up until now. And this is quite an update. So there's a couple of things here to consider. Obviously, there's the models, and we're going to talk about things like the Brass Scorpion, which is a classic model. But there's also a new kind of Praevian type to work in a similar way to how a Praevian would work with, say, your normal automata. And there's also a new unit type, which is the Corrupted Engine, which all of these things kind of fall under. So we're going to rattle through these rules fairly quickly. Obviously, you can download these from the site for your own reading pleasure. So a Legion Praevian and Corrupted Engine. So an army that includes Legion Praevian with the Legion Cybernetica special rule may take a single unit with the Corrupted Engine unit subtype instead of a Castellax Battle Automata Maniple or Vorax Maniple. So if a unit of corrupted engine unit is chosen by this rule, it does not form part of the same force organization as the Legion Praevian, instead must occupy its own appropriate force organization choice. So that's interesting. So that means that you take the Praevian, which is the HQ choice, because it's a console type, but the actual model itself fills its own force org chart. So, for example, if it's a Lord of War, it's still as Lord of War. So no sneaking a Brass Scorpion into HQ choice before you think about doing that. The selected unit does gain the same Legion Astartes X special rule as the Praevian, which is quite cool, but may not select any Legion-specific war gear or other options. So no giving your Brass Scorpion chain fist fingers or something. An army can include a maximum of 1 unit of corrupted engine unit subtype chosen in this manner. regardless of the number of Legion Praevians within the army. So basically, one Legion Praevian can be like your Dark Legion Praevian. He can then have, he'll be linked to or join one of the corrupted engine units, and only he can do that. Any additional Legion Praevians from the first may select Castellax, Battle Auto, Material Heroics as normal. So the corrupted engine, which is what all these things come under, have their own new unit type. So they gain the Fear 1 special rule, which is useful, particularly if you're Night Lords, for example, and already causing fear. If it already has Fear, so it might already have Fear 1, you add it by X. So basically, if you had Fear 1, it becomes Fear 2, if it already had it. Any rule, effect, or modifier that would affect a model with the corrupted subtype also affects a model with the corrupted engine unit subtype. So, all the anathema and stuff like that affect corrupted units, i.e. being next to them seems to cause you bother, they would also apply for corrupted engines as well as corrupted units. Entirely models with the corrupted engine unit subtype that is immune to the effects of the Fear special rule. It automatically passes regroup tests and cannot choose to fail a morale check due to our weapons are useless. When a unit comprised of models with the corrupted engine subtype fails a morale check, though, it doesn't fall back as per normal rules, but instead D3 auto wounds, no saves or damage mitigation of any time. So yeah, you basically take those wounds. You can't invulnerable save them, and you can't feel no pain them. So yeah, good that they don't run away, bad that they could die quite quickly. Any hits inflicted on a model with the corrupted subtype by a weapon with the Force or Psychic Focus special rule, so that's any psychic weapon then, I believe. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Gain instant death special rule. So watch out for those librarians, kids. They're gonna really mess your day up. What was that thing that you had with loads of Force weapons, Chris, the other week? I can't remember what it was.
Oh, you've got the what they called, basically all the Thousand Suns.
Yes, that's right.
Pretty much, and you've got that special unit.
Oh, is it the Kenantai Blade?
Kenantai Blade guys? Yeah, they can all have Force weapons.
To be fair,
that whole army can basically.
Yeah, they're going to go straight through these like they're not even there.
Yeah, but
chances of them coming against each other.
It's a very good point. They probably give them a cuddle rather than.
There's Loyalist Thousand Suns in the Siege of Cathonia book.
There are.
Very good point. Well made. A model with half a buff. Yeah, 50 points to half a buff. If a model with corrupted engine subtype has a wound characteristic and suffers an unsaved wound with the instant death rule, it's not removed as a casualty. Use your D3 with the instant death. So instead of one for each unsaved wound with the instant death special rule inflicted upon it. So just a heads up there. Doesn't die immediately as per Dreadnoughts and other things, Automata, I think, but you take D3 wounds instead. And no model that doesn't have a corrupted engine subtype may join a unit that includes one or more models with a corrupted engine subtype. So no, just adding your Praetor to those lovely models. You've got to be the Praevian, because I think that gets that kind of Patris Familia thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So cool. Go Michael. So obviously, with all kind of things like this, there's the Cybernetica Arcana side of it.
Yeah, so we get some more additional Arcana as opposed to what's in the original sort of Mechanicum book. So this sort of looks at the emergence of newfound influence in the Mechanicum, emphasizing how when they're going into the darkest realms of the Chaos magics, they can grant Magos increased control over their constructs. But the majority of this is not, inconsequential knowledge, isn't it? So, so you get access now to cyberphagic right and cyberphagic weapons, which is from the original book, isn't it? So, and the additional ones you got Animus Malevolence, which empowers the cyberphagists to manipulate a friendly corrupted engine in a couple of ways, such as moving at a distance equivalent to the initiative value of the unit. Enhancing its invulnerable save by 1, boosting its weapon skill and initiative of the target corrupted unit. And if a successful check is made before using the power, you've got some options that can be applied there. So
you can do 2 of them.
Yeah, like you can with the.
That's what I mean.
Cybernetic Arcana, isn't it?
The Amathea Excrucius essentially amplifies the capabilities of a Volkite charger, offering an 18-inch strength 5 AP-free weapon with assault 3, deflagrate and blind properties,
Yes,
which is good for anti-tank, but it's got a limited range there. So
Strength
whether
5
you're gonna want-
anti-tank.
Yeah.
Tanks
Strength 5,
issue,
yeah,
you know?
no, it's great anti-infantry. I mean, AP3.
Sorry,
not many
anti-infantry. Yes, that's what I mean. I've mistyped. But are you going to want your Magos to be that close to stuff?
It depends on what type of Magos you got, really. But you're right. I mean, he's like
Yeah.
a boosty monster, isn't he? Really, you want him to. So
So
I'm guessing that he can join. If you take the Cybernetica Arcana Anima Malefica, you can join a unit of these buggers, and then those are the kind of cyber third powers you get, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is it's only AP3, so you're not taking it against Terminators. But yeah,
No, but
There's not a
AP2
huge
anymore.
amount of AP3s
There isn't. You're right, Chris. Yeah.
kicking about these days. It's there's
Yeah.
anything
AP4 of the
AP4
Wazoo, but not
high
much
enough
AP.
is
Yeah.
Anyway, what about the Kaitan then, Rob?
Right.
The
So
first of the
this
Demon Engines.
is an excuse to shoe on one of my most hated models of all time in.
Really? You hate it?
Yeah. And even back in the early 90s when it was in the background of a piece of John Blanchard, I didn't like it. I just think it's daft.
Is this the big knight with the choppy?
So yeah, they call it
Yeah.
the Kaitan here in 40k
Yeah,
speak.
it's
It's a
a
Lord
Lord
of
of
Skulls.
It's a Lord of Skulls with legs.
without wheels. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a giant bloke without legs who's sat on a
I'll put a link there in the
Sat on
document for you,
tracks.
Graham.
produced by
I
the
like it,
accursed
but-
the accursed dark mechanic enemy of Sarum, who are the people who make World Eaters helmets, if you've heard that planet before. True to its knightly origins, the Kaitan dwarfs its adversaries both in stature and significance, boasting impressive knightlight statistics, and it occupies a Lord of War slot. 14-inch move, weapon skill 6, 8 hull points. It's not shabby.
It's a knight, isn't it? Basically.
You can tell what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, close in swiftly, close combat engagements, and then it's tough enough to basically stick the fight out. It's got a 5-up Malefic Aegis save, which aids in shrugging off potent attacks with high strength and low armor pen.
Yeah.
It's got Heedless Slaughter Dominion. Chris will remember that from the old Demon list, which contributes to charge distances, combat res, and potential sweeping advances, ensuring that this formidable construct remains highly mobile, capable of catching up with the enemy during crucial phases of battle. Problem is, it looks like it was designed by a 5-year-old.
I really like the model, Rob. I'm really sorry.
Oh.
Maybe it's just my kind of
I think I had
1980s metal kind of
I
view
think I had a
on
toy
things.
like it when I was a kid that wasn't a transformer. Do you know what I mean? That was like a kind of
knockoff transformer.
yeah, basically. And I think that I God knows where it is, but it's just
skewed your
yeah.
outlook.
Like if it had legs, I think it was Minch, like a giant. What are Chaos Knights like? They're just literally like a medieval knight, basically. Or
It's not got
I do
legs.
wonder.
The
I do
Kaitan's
wonder
got
if
legs.
the
It's not the Killdozer version.
It's a walking version.
It's the walking version, isn't it?
I do wonder if the pose on the model on the Forge site doesn't do it any favors, because its hips look too
Its hips don't
thin.
lie, to quote Shakira.
And exactly. Yeah, it
Yes.
just.
I'm not a
He
massive fan, but
skipped leg day, basically,
Oh,
doesn't he? 'Cause you're
totally
right,
has.
yeah.
He's all calf and no thigh.
yeah. But it's got 4 attacks base, Hammer of Wrath 4, Rampage D3.
Mm.
Strength 10 AP2 in combat, Brutal 3, and Shred. I mean,
Endless slaughter. It's got a charge, isn't it?
yeah, it might not be pretty, but it's going to knock the living
Right.
bejesus out of Dreadnoughts.
Heedless slaughter.
What's that cleaver of slaughter of that weapon? I guess that's the question. Is that got brutal or anything?
Yeah, that's the Brutal 3 and Shred, Strength 10 AP2.
Oh, that is nice.
Brutal 3 shred with hammer with Rampage D3 plus, let's have a look. So that Heedless slaughter.
Cleaver of slaughter. Yeah, brutal 3 shred. I like it.
He must charge A unit entirely composed of models of this special rule must declare a charge if able when they begin the assault phase within 8 inches. Yeah, of course, number 8. If there's any more than one, charge different unit may make shooting attack. Okay. As long as note this does not allow the shooting. Okay, cool. Yes,
okay, fine.
And yeah, plus 1 to charge.
It's also got very similar to the
plus 1 to shooting advance as well.
Flank speed as well, which means he can go like a rocket, isn't he?
Yeah, and if movement 14. I mean, it's not obviously meant for mainly being a shooting thing, but it does have that Gatling cannon on it, which is heavy 18, pinning and shell shock 1.
It's the same as the Punisher cannon.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, yeah, you pin them, you charge them, you kill them.
Exactly. Do you know what? I really like the idea of this model. I've got to be honest with you. Because it's kind of like a souped up knight. 420 points seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I like the rules for it. I just can't get past the weapon is. I think it's not a transformer, and it's a bit too early 80s metal cover for me.
I like that. That'd be great. My son's a Horus. I'm going to sign me up. Next time I get some money, I'm going to buy one.
They're not actually that expensive.
No, exactly.
It's only £117 50 pence.
I suppose
105 on the GW website.
Is it?
Well, on Forge World, and it's 117.
That's interesting. Are you looking at the tracked version? Rob,
I'm just looking at the. Yeah, I'm just looking at the. Is the on the Forge World version?
Yeah, so I think we're talking. Yeah, so Forge World is the Khitan Daemon Engine has legs.
Oh, hang on, no, that's much better because that's got legs.
Yeah, that's what I think. Just like ZZ Top, she's got legs.
That's much better. That's got legs.
No, the thingy, the one that you don't like,
is the Tonka truck one, right? Okay, right. Ignore all my hate for the Tonka truck. I'm sure you would join me on that one. This one has legs. Yeah, no, I'm all right. I mean, it's still a little clunky, but it's infinitely better because it's got legs.
I think that would look great on a battlefield. That would really be a sentiment. £117 is very good value.
I mean, half of it is plastic.
That is also true.
But that's not a bad thing.
Considering the cost of I suppose you're getting the plastic knights now, aren't you? But you know what? I reckon I might add to cart. Go on. All right. Okay. Just something a bit different, you know? Okay.
Yeah, that the actual Lord of Skulls is bobbins.
Filed under bobbins. Okay. Go.
I just totally hadn't even got on my radar that they'd done this and put legs on it.
Oh, it's been out for ages, my friend.
I mean, it's not a patch on what's coming next. Who's the jammy beggar that gets this one?
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Right.
Oh, we all love this one.
Everybody's the crowd favorite of all the Daemon Engines. The greater brass. Was there ever a lesser brass scorpion? I mean,
it changed its name to the Blood Slaughter. It's coming next.
Okay. So the greater brass scorpion. Upon initial inspection, the greater brass scorpion appears to share a Khorne-themed design with similarities in rules such as Heedless Slaughter, Etheric Dominion, Hammer of Wrath, and Rampage, much like the Khitan. Additionally, though, it benefits from the same malefic 5+ Aegis save, and is exclusively available to traitor forces. So could you take a loyalist thing of Khitan Daemon Engine? No, you couldn't.
No.
There's traitor as well.
Okay, cool.
So, primary distinction between these two units: one is infinitely sexier than the other.
There is
no offense, Jeff Khitan, the creator of the Khitan Daemon Engine, but this thing is the Lamborghini. This is like the Ferrari or Lamborghini of demon models, as far as
I think that part of the appeal is this fantastic paint job, and I've always admired the candy red on this. Is always really stood out for me.
It's gorgeous. It's got a more conservative movement of 10, a reduced weapon skill of 5, and fewer attacks at 3. But to compensate for these changes, emphasise its role as a close-range firepower support unit. The Scorpion boasts an improved business skill of 4. This attribute is particularly beneficial to the Scorpion's arsenal, which includes a turret-mounted Scorpion cannon, a midline despoiler cannon, and 2 front arc Hellmore cannons.
Man,
Bom, bom, bom.
Manatee
frantically
strikes again.
looks up weapons.
Hell, and
They're on the PDF.
and it has Hell Crusher claws. So let's go through.
The Hellmore
The
cannon
Yeah.
is a template, strength 7, AP 4, assault 1, torrent.
6
Okay.
inches. So it's
Okay,
not
cool.
great.
Yeah.
But whereabouts on the model is that?
They're in the claws.
They're in the claws. Okay, cool. And then we've got the despoiler cannon, strength 10, AP 3, small blast, sunder, rending 5+, rending, brutal 3, strength 10 though. Not bad, 24 inches.
I don't want to get hit by that.
And then the scorpion cannon is kind of disorder. Strength 5, AP 4, assault 9, pinning
Pinning and
with
shred.
shred 30 inches. Yeah, okay. It's useful. It's got a use, but that despoiler cannon's doing the business.
But which would you get? I mean, bear in mind that there's £80 difference cost.
Yeah.
But only, if I've got this right, there's only 20 points difference in the points cost.
What's this? I don't know how big a
The scorpion
Greater brass
is
scorpion.
massive.
yeah.
Is
I
it?
don't expect it to be for that. I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever seen one in the wild.
you would struggle to fit it in a foot square.
So
Man goes back to Forge World Cart.
yeah,
It's a seriously impressive model one.
yeah, it is gorgeous. Like Blake said, that paint job does a world of favors to it.
I think it's something that I've always wanted, so that
Yeah,
might be the,
Well, actually,
might be the option. I don't think
there's
it's
one-
actually as good as the other, the Chiton. It's got flank speed and stuff, but you're right, it's got a little bit more shooty. But yeah,
it's got a bit more je ne sais quoi about it.
But
you know,
Greater Brass Scorpion is always going to look super cool.
yeah. Anytime you put that on the board, people are going to go. "Oh,
Weirdly, it's only got 8 hull points as well. Isn't that strange? That is an interesting.
Yeah, but it has
toss-up
got
between
a
those two
5+.
models. Yeah, they've both got 5+ invons, haven't they?
Yeah,
Malefic
Malefic
Aegis.
Aegis.
Mm.
Strength. It's not actually. I mean,
Magnificent.
yes. Armor 13, 12. It's not unkillable.
The Chitan actually was better at points game wise because it's got that massive movement, so you'd be turn 1 charge potentially with flank speed. I have to look up the flank speed while we do this, so carry on, please.
Carry on my
But it's the thing is, rule of cool.
Oh yeah, rule of cool. This.
Brass Scorpion kicks it out of the
Yeah.
park.
So, Mr.
So it's back to you then.
Yeah.
So the Blood Slaughterer.
Hell
So,
Crusher Claws.
yeah. So interesting. Two versions of this by the looks of things. We've got the Impaler, very nice, and the Slaughterer. So in terms of how they look like, say, mini, as Chris described them earlier, kind of mini, kind of, is it Lorica armor overlaying
Yeah.
plates of metal like that? Classic kind of Mechanicum look.
Can I just raise a quick question? With the
Yeah,
Brass
please.
Scorpion,
That's
it has 2 Hell Crusher Claws.
yes.
Does it gain an extra attack?
Unless it's, I'm not acquainted with anyone who's ever had or owned one of these miniatures. I'm not either, neither is Mr. B. I was quite surprised to discover that they were still available for purchase from Forge World, and both weapons variations of the unit have been retained in their catalogue. This is especially intriguing, considering the discontinuation of many core units, leaving Mr. B, and you don't want to leave him like this, somewhat perplexed.
Yep.
If the Chitan and Greater Brass Scorpion are the equivalents of the knights in the Khorne-themed army, then these magnificent beasts serve as replacements for dreadnoughts. Notably, this is the only corrupted engine choice that can be deployed as a unit, with the option to purchase a unit of 3 of them in a single selection. They also deviate from occupying the Lord of War slot and instead claim a less competitive fast attack option. Good point, Mr. B.
Yep.
Regrettably, there is no point reduction available to increase the unit size, which I found somewhat surprising. Yeah, that's true. That is a kind of theme, isn't it?
Yeah,
It doesn't seem practical to field a single model or unit of these. A single model unit of these. Blood Sorcerer's stat line resembles a modified Castaferum profile, the old Boxer Naught, featuring weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 3, and a slightly lower strength and toughness at 6. These models also possess a lower armor save of 3+, a less robust malefic Aegis of 6. So they're not quite up there, are they? They're kind of worse dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
On the offensive front, they benefit from a Headless Slaughterer, which we talked about, Etheric Dominion, move through cover, and a movement value of 9. So they will get there quite quickly. Standard loadout is entirely focused on close combat, with primary option being the Strength 8 AP3 Slaughterer Blades. Base of 4 attacks, 5 on the charge. Yeah, good option against your run-of-the-mill infantry, 3+ saves. People just tank the thing with the sergeants, with the artists for armor, as we've seen. With the built-in Furious Charge 1 on the profile, making them Strength 9. The model can be upgraded with an Impaler Harpoon for some modest ranged firepower, though a short-range Strength 6 AP3 may not be a top choice. However, it does possess the thematic Impale rule, which reduces the enemy's initiative if it successfully wounds. So,
Yeah,
cool looking
it's
things,
quite
but like you say, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure there'd be a must. Yeah, like I say, I guess those were the things that you would do with the Praevian, wouldn't they? You'd have the Praevian join them as a unit. So there's one of the few units, I guess. Cool. Okay, on to the next one.
Okay, so final entry in the Corrupted Engines. It's a bit like a Leviathan. So like the Blood Slaughterer is like a Dreadnought. The Decimator is like a Leviathan. So it's, basically the lore is that the Dark Mechanicum were a bit concerned about the Leviathan, so they built their own during the war. So the Decimator is a heavy support slot, which is obviously highly competitive in the Legion roster. There's so much good heavy support stuff in there. Because you need good point efficiency, firepower, and the ability to, sustain damage. If I'm looking at a list, I will say, right, is this better than a Leviathan? That's my standard in the heavy support. And this is a little bit different. So it's got a strength of 8, toughness 7, 7 wounds, 2+ save, which can be re-rolled against strength 6 and below attacks because it's got a malevolent artifice rule. So it's I think it's going to last 6 turns of the game. It's also got Furious Charge 2, Hammer of Wrath 2, which goes really well with attacks, 5 attacks, so you can unleash a massive amount of potential hits in the combat round. And the Hammer of Wrath 2 and Strength 8 is like it's 3 wounds against really tough stuff. So
This is better than a Leviathan.
I think so. Yeah. It's perfect. It's got several different weapons. It's got they're similar to the Leviathan. You've got you can choose to exchange it. It comes with claws, which are Strength 8, AP2, Brutal 3, and you can exchange those for a Butcher Cannon or a Soul Burner Petard. Butcher Cannon, a bit like the Storm Cannon.
Storm Cannon, exactly.
Yeah, basically the same as the Storm Cannon.
Heavy 3 though. Heavy 3, not heavy 6.
Yes, it's Strength 7, AP for rending 6+ with 3 shots and twin linked.
Yes, that's true.
So so it's great if you want it to be at ranged. It's also got the Soul Burner Petard, which is it's a non-plasma cannon blast with breaching and fleshbane properties. So it looks like a plasma cannon, but it's not quite. And it's AP4, but so it's not as good as the Leviathan equivalent. So
Yes, just trying to think.
If I was going to get one of these, I'd get a close combat one. I'd just put 2 close combat weapons on it.
Just run it at them. I mean, it's also got that etheric domain, which means it re-rolls any armor saves that are less than its toughness if they're not. What does it say? So, it doesn't affect invulnerable saves. So if you shoot it with a bolter, heavy bolter, anything that isn't AP2 effectively, and it's less than toughness 7, so less than strength 7.
If their strength value, is lower.
I think I've got one of these unbuilt somewhere.
then you can basically re-roll that save, which makes them really tough. I think that's a great addition, actually. Heavy support slot, like you say, Mr. B, but all in all, from the traitor side of
60
things,
points of chaos, of
not
carnage,
bad, is it?
basically
I mean,
running at you.
it's 80 points more than a Contemptor, and it's got a much better stat line, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it used to have like a laser and a conversion beam that you could buy for it, but I don't think they do them anymore.
Let me have a look, because
it's not as tough as Leviathan. I think Leviathan's toughness 8.
Yeah, no, you can only buy the claws, the petard, and the. Effectively, it's a Reaper autocannon that they've renamed for 30k.
I think that's a great model in terms of value on the game, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of those and a Blast Scorpion in your army, it looks super.
I think I've got one lying around somewhere.
53 quid's not bad, actually, is it?
No, it's cheap. Yeah,
there's no arms though.
Oh yeah,
16 quid a weapon.
But is it? Okay. Yeah,
you could.
Leviathan price, isn't it? Old Leviathan price.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you could use, if you've got them and you're able to in some way magnetize or whatever. I'm sure you could use existing weapons in some magical way.
Do you think? Would you object if somebody did a good conversion of a Leviathan?
No.
I
don't think I would. I think
just put it on the right size base and I score cool.
I mean, that's probably a way of getting around the Forge World cost, isn't it? You can say.
I think it would just
count as
it's one. Yeah, I think you're losing something because the model is super cool looking.
It's super cool looking. Yeah.
And I think that's the only thing. I wouldn't have a problem with someone doing it because 70 quid for almost 80 quid for it is not a chunk. It's just not a small chunk of change, but. It's one of the better Forge World models out there, I would say.
Yeah, it's cool.
It stood the test of time.
Seriously,
it's been around for a
long while.
Yeah, so what kind of Praevian?
15, 20 years.
Quickly check to see what the Praevian can take. Add it to my Sons of Horus army, because obviously the Lords of War choices, I'm assuming you can add as Lords of War. What things can it take? May take a single unit with a corrupted engine unit subtype. Okay.
So it can take.
All right, I get it. You don't join the unit like you do with the Castellax. I think that's
he's just got the keys to the garage.
That's effectively. It means you can field it. You don't join it and tag along with it. You just basically you have the Praevian. The Praevian allows you to take them. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. Okay. So, but anyway, nice choices, right? Something different. Something to.
So I think we've got lots of choices there that are pretty good.
It's good to see models that have not been part of the game's range being incorporated in.
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Because that didn't happen. I can't think of an instance where it happened.
And I think also
the internet will tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I think.
Yeah, sorry, Chris. Sorry.
No, go on. No, I think it's encouraging to see stuff come from the outside in rather than our stuff go out.
I think that out of the 4 units there, 3 of them are decent, which is you could use them in a.
But which one don't you like? I don't know. I think I need to guess.
Yeah, I think the only one that I wouldn't be rushing out to buy would be the Blood Slaughterers. Because I think you could, like, say, you should bring a Castafair Dreadnought instead, just do the same job. But you can take 2 of those in the thing. But I think the Decimator is awesomely cool. For a kind of close combat army, World Eaters or something, it looks superb.
Yeah.
The Greater Brass Scorpion is a super looking model. I think it's just one of those standout models. And bear in mind, it's a super heavy. 440 points isn't bad compared to what they did with all the other super heavies, where they kind of really stuck the boot in. But yeah, I think maybe the old Khitan Daemon Engine might be coming home with me at some point. I think I might chuck him in as a Lord of War with my Sons of Horus.
Him and some Decimators at his feet.
Yeah, that would be cool, wouldn't it? The only problem is this corrupted they have the same effect as corrupted units, don't they? So if you get too close to them, they do funny things to you, and not in a good way.
Yeah, they don't like it up on Mr. Mannering.
No, well, they may. You certainly don't.
Certainly
Whether they
do
or
not.
not is something of a debate. So anyway, great little supplement. Like I say, Chris, I think the really cool thing is it's cool units that look really cool, that work in the game, and you can that have been added after the event, which is awesome.
I think also it's the first time that from the exemplary battle reports, you've kind of thought, actually, I would take.
Yeah.
There've been a couple of units, but
Sunkillers.
Sunkillers being the one,
yeah.
But they were done in kind of, bear in mind, Sunkillers were done in version 1, and then they said, oh yeah, everything that was done in the exemplary battle reports you can use in version 2. Yeah, with a little bit of shenanigans, which is why the Sunkillers are so broken. But yeah, awesome. Great stuff. Cool. Okay, let's do it. Let's call it a day then and move on to the close, I believe.
So we didn't do a list challenge because there was nothing really we could do a list challenge on in there without it being the same old nonsense. But, ladies and gentlemen,
There was a lot to fit in, wasn't there?
we want you to do lists for a list challenge for October's list challenge. We need you to come up with your most win at all costs nonsense evil army, because none of the four of us want to get our hands dirty with that. So we thought we'd let you maniacs do it because we've got, integrity. That's
Just
what
to,
it is.
just to kind of a little hint here, nobody's going to win this by just chucking dreadnoughts in, because that's too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Exactly.
looking for something a little bit more
the three lists
imaginative
we've
than-
got so far all
come on,
just
people.
I realise that they are super powerful, and you're
that's
right.
the point. Do you want to see these ahead of time, or
Yes, of course we do.
I thought people wanted to see them on the day, but okay,
No,
yeah.
we need
I
to
will
work
get
out
them.
because we're going to get. So what we want your most win at all cost list. Come on, people. We don't. There's more to this game than dreadnoughts. In fact, we may like it more. So
all three lists so far are all Right of the Ancients.
Of course they
come
are.
on.
And
Come
they are
on.
pretty even. But
You're a
let's-
creative bunch.
Yeah, exactly.
All of them are
And-
almost identical.
Yeah, of course they are.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So no more net listing. You're better than that. Okay, internet. You're
Have
better
a word
than
with
that.
yourselves.
Come on, just pick up a book. Just get a notepad and pen, and just ignore whatever page the dreadnoughts are on. Come up with something a bit interesting for us. And we need you to either write a description of how you want the army to operate, as we always do when we describe our list, what we want it to do. You can either write that out, or you can record it, and we'll insert it in.
The show, that is.
Yeah, exactly. We'll insert it into the bin if it's a load of odd nonsense. And we will score it as we would normally. And the winner we will supply with some Age of Empire merch.
Should we
once.
each take a champion? Maybe we'll each
Well,
come up
effectively,
with one list.
Well, what we'll do is we'll pick our four favourites, and then we will discuss
agree
their.
with who's the merits
yeah.
thereof. Yeah,
Exactly. We need to be as objective scoring as we ever can.
Yes, that's exactly right. There's this list here from Mahog Slim that's particularly evil.
Yes. They and this way, no one can be accused of voting to not let Graham win.
Exactly.
So that's why we're keeping it as fair as we can. And we need those lists by I think I said the 9th of October, because we need time to go through and fit it into our busy schedules to actually record the whole segment.
Yep.
So that would be great. Thanks very much, Internet. You're wonderful. As we carry on with this close of the show, please leave us some reviews on iTunes, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course now YouTube. Yes, that's it. You people on YouTube, we can see you and you can see us, and it's not weird at all. Links are in the show notes. I have no idea how that interacts with YouTube whatsoever. Also, give our page on Facebook a like, because Graham gets sad, and it's like the cartoon dog Droopy when he doesn't get a Facebook like every so often, he just becomes very sad and mopes around. And
I had a girlfriend who used to call me that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you did.
Because I moped around. There's no other reason.
Because your big
Louise
ears, that's
last
why,
week.
wasn't it?
Sorry.
No, I'm not gonna. Anyway, so that'd be good of you. Look at all the things we ask of you. We're so greedy.
I know, so
We're
much.
greedy
So much.
people.
It's an interactive show.
If you want to, I know, right? Yeah, and yet few people take it up. But you know, when we get asked the questions. Also, hang on a minute. Weren't we going to discuss what we would do if we were with dinosaurs in this episode?
Yeah,
No,
I thought
that's
that was
next
a silly
one.
question. Oh,
That was the next one. Do you want to do it now?
we have
Do you want to do it now?
5 minutes. Maximum
Do we have
10
time?
minutes. Does Rob have time?
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
let me pull it up. Let me pull up the question.
No, I can.
Hold on, let's
It
just
was
check with-
basically.
Rob first, because Rob has to go on holiday soon.
Yeah, Rob's already in trouble. Do you have 5 minutes to spare, Rob, while we ramble about something that's
I
completely
think
inane?
it's worth more than 5 minutes. That's the problem.
Okay.
I think each
Next
one is
episode.
going to take 20.
Next episode.
Next episode then.
In the
Get
in
ready
the
for
Patreon
some.
section.
No,
This is-
I think we
this
should.
is-
I think we should let everybody hear the nonsense of us discussing dinosaurs. Right, if you want to help out the show, we have an affiliate link with Audible. God, all over the place. So you can sign up to get your Horror Society audiobooks through them for the month's free trial, and after that is $7.99 a month, and you get a free audiobook with that $7.99, and also you can buy extra tokens for cheaper than you would buying an actual single audiobook. You buy it free.
Also, I think if there's a thing called Whisper Sync as well. Was that? No, not that. But basically, if you buy, say, a Black Library book on Kindle, you can get it cheaper on Audible as an audiobook. If you buy like the Amazon book.
Yeah.
So I noticed that when I bought a couple of books on Kindle, it was like, oh, okay, so I don't have to use my credit. It's cheaper to buy it this way.
Magic. The internet is a wonderful thing. You can, of course, become a patron of the show and listen to our rambles before the actual content starts, and we're always very grateful for that. Apparently, you can do something called Ko-fi or Ko-fi.
Yeah, do we have a link to that, Mr. B?
I
Do we have
don't
a
know.
Ko-fi
I think
page
there's a link
that
on the
you have?
website, but I will put a link on the
Okay, cool.
in the show notes and that. I think there is, but
Who knows what it is, but hey,
Yeah.
check it out.
it's
if you
like the
want to do
Patreon,
whatever it
but
says.
one-offs.
Just a
Okay.
one-off
It's like
thing.
Patreon, but one-off.
Just
If you feel you've got the
more
value
like a
of
tip
cup of
jar than
coffee,
anything else.
Yeah, the value of
Yeah,
a cup of
cool.
coffee, send it our way to keep the lights burning in Age of Empires Tower, particularly that purple one behind Mr. B, which is very expensive.
It's costing us a fortune.
Yeah.
Right, you can also help us out by going through the God Library. More things you can do. You can also just help us out by going through the advert on our website to purchase your wargaming toys, your Element games. We have Element crystal codes, so you get double crystals, and we get a slight kickback of some normal crystals. Mine is CHR211. Graham's is GRA2794. Mr. B's is MIC440, and Robert's is ROB676. There is also, we have a very nice relationship with the people at the Outpost in Sheffield, which is a great FLGS, and it's actually the main place I buy most of my stuff these days. Because,
Oh, I'm still an Element man.
well, we've got to, diversify.
Spread the love.
Next episode, we will bring you new releases, what we've been up to, State of the Union, us talking about dinosaurs, and who knows whatever else we'll throw into there. And then after that, it's the Third Legion's time to shine with the Emperor's Children Legion focus.
Very cool.
And old winged.
The scariest part is that shine is entirely coming from reflection on lube, but yeah, they will shine.
They certainly do shine
Absolutely.
brightly. Cool.
Right, let's
Okay.
everybody say good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Take care, everyone, and we'll be back in your ears soon. Love and snuggles.
Bye-bye.
Bye.